Mike Gill on 97.3 ESPN. Now, live inside the Matt Black Kia Studios, here's Mike Gill.
Happy Hour Friday here on 97.3 ESPN FM, the 97.3 ESPN mobile app powered by First Bank of CLC. I am Josh Hennig, filling in another day for Mike Gill. Mike will be back in here on Monday to recap Eagles-Bears this Sunday, but we'll get you ready for Eagles-Bears this Sunday starting today. Plus, the Sixers are back in action tonight when they take on the Warriors. They are looking for their sixth straight home win. Plus, a very interesting game last night on Thursday Night Football. So we have all that to get to coming up here on the Sports Bash on a happy hour Friday edition on 97.3 ESPN. Coming up, Mike McGarry from the Press of Atlantic City, his usual 2:40 slot. Friend of Game Night, Andy McNamara, will join us at 3:20 coming up. Talk some NFL and fantasy football with him. Football at 4, NFL insider Adam Caplan joins the show at the top of the 4 o'clock hour to get more into the latest with the Eagles. We will talk some Sixers and NBA with Bryan Toporek. Of course, he is a contributor for Forbes Sports and Liberty Ballers. He's also the co-host of the NBA podcast. And one thought, every game, all the breakdowns you need at 5 p.m. with the football scientist, the athletic NFL writer, Joyner. And as always, you could join the conversation at 609-403-0973 is the text board. 609-403-0973. Also, you could DM the show through the 97.3 ESPN mobile app powered by First Bank. See how you want to get that app. If you don't have the 97.3 ESPN mobile app, guess what? You didn't have a chance to win Sixers tickets yesterday, like Tom Brown did. Tom Brown went on the app, got the Sixers tickets. He won. So you're going to want to get that app because when we do contests and prizes and different things down the road, you are not going to want to miss out with the 97.3 ESPN mobile app. All right. A lot to get to here on the show here. I want to start with last night's game because on Thursday Night Football, you saw something very interesting last night. And as I've explained before, and I've tried to explain this multiple times to people, but I hope last night was a great example of it. We live in a world where football is a pendulum swing. And last night, it was incredible to watch the San Francisco 49ers defense go out there and absolutely wreck Seattle. That was the first of two things that were major takeaways from the game last night. We know that San Francisco is arguably not the best, one of the best defenses out there. Before last night, they were the only team in the NFL to not allow at least 200 points this season. They're really good. It's the unit, it's the individual players, the whole 9 yards. But to see what they did going to Seattle and just dominating, absolutely laying waste to a Seattle offense that looked like they were helpless most of the game. That late touchdown was of pretty much no consequence. And the 49ers, a team that started the year with Trey Lance, had to go to Jimmy Garoppolo because of an injury, then lost Jimmy Garoppolo in the middle of this winning streak they're on. You know, this team was 3-4 back in October. And now, since their bye week, they've won 6 straight games, 7 straight overall, and they just won the division last night, in large part because of their defense. Now, I'm not just happy because I got the pick right last night saying you should take the under Seattle points, which was 19.5 from what I understand at certain sports books. But I was excited to see the fact that this is where the league is trending right now. The league pendulum swings. Defense has become important again. I don't think it's a coincidence that the teams that have the best records right now across the NFL, almost every single one of them has a good defense. The Eagles are statistically top 5 in almost every single important or relevant category on defense. So are the Dallas Cowboys. San Francisco is either 1 or 2 or 3 in almost every category. In fact, the only team with a better point differential than the 49ers is the Eagles in the NFC right now. And Dallas is right there with them. Those are your 3 best teams in the NFC. They all have great defenses. The Washington Commanders have a pretty good defense. Their offense is a dumpster fire because of their quarterback situation, which has been inconsistent, but their defense is pretty good. The only team with a good record in the NFC that doesn't have a great or really good defense is Minnesota. And maybe that's part of the reason why people think that they are Fugazi at this point. You go to the AFC, the Bills actually have a good scoring defense. They're kind of like a bend, don't break kind of thing, even without Von Miller. The Ravens' defense has gotten exponentially better in recent weeks, and so has the Cincinnati Bengals. In fact, if you were only to take from basically the 1st of November to now, the Ravens and Bengals, according to NFL Network, are top 10 in multiple defensive categories in the league. So it's interesting to see how important defense is. And on the flip side, Tennessee was a team that's supposed to be a good defense, and they have gotten punched in the face multiple times this year, and it's a big reason why that they themselves are on a 3-game losing streak because their defense has started to fall apart. And let's be realistic. If the Chargers had any modicum of consistency and health, they would probably be better than 7-6 because the way that defense has played in recent weeks, I think it's a major credit to the players on that team and that organization for staying focused. Because this is a team that basically every game since the bye, except for one, hasn't allowed 30 points. 17, 22, 24, 27, 17. The only team they allowed 30 points to was the Kansas City Chiefs. I don't think that's something to be embarrassed about. So for me, when I look at the Eagles defense, I think that what you saw with San Francisco last night, the Eagles have the personnel to do what San Francisco is able to do as well. Go out there and just make life miserable for opponents. Now, there was one other thing that happened in the game last night that we have to know about the Eagles. And I think this is the biggest thing for the Eagles. Last night was the first time that I can remember seeing a plethora of away fans in Seattle. The first time I can remember in my recent memory, and maybe there was a game or two that I missed along the way, but my memory of the Pete Carroll era in Seattle has been Seattle having one of the 5 best home field advantages in the NFL, how loud it is, how crazy the fans are. And last night, when you were getting the shots of the stadium, it wasn't just Seattle fans. There was a lot of San Francisco 49er red in that crowd. A lot of San Francisco 49er jerseys and shirts and hats. I can promise you one thing. If the Eagles have home field advantage through the NFL playoffs, that will not happen. Eagle fans would never let a team's away fans take over chunks of the stadium seating. If you are going to get a playoff game or even a regular home game in Philadelphia, 90% of that crowd is going to be Eagle fans. But last night in Seattle, there were times that you were expecting the crowd to get a little louder, a little more boisterous, a little more energy, and it wasn't there. And then you turn around, and instead of seeing Seattle's colors of that green and the blue and the white and the silver and all the variables of the colors over the years, you saw that definitive 49ers red. It's not the reason why the 49ers won last night, but I don't think that we can discount the fact that the Eagles are a team with an elite home field advantage. And there's no way an opposing fan base is going to be able to come into Philadelphia and take over chunks of the stadium. I couldn't believe seeing it last night in Seattle, but I immediately thought this would never happen in Philadelphia. Never. You Eagle fans know what I'm talking about. You guys are at the stadium hours before kickoff. As soon as they let you in the gates, you're out there pre-gaming, getting ready for the game. Some of you probably lose your voices at halftime, but you keep trying to yell and you just decide to clap instead. If the Eagles can lock down home field advantage for the playoffs, it may be the greatest equalizer this postseason. And I'm not saying that as a negative against Jalen Hurts or the Eagles defense or Sirianni or Gannon. But remember, in 2017, when the Eagles went to the Super Bowl, every home game was in Philadelphia. Every playoff game, home game. If the Eagles would have had to go to Atlanta or Minnesota in that playoff run instead of being in Philadelphia, is it really a guarantee that they reach the Super Bowl? Seriously. That Atlanta game was a rock fight. It was ugly, and it took an amazing goal line stand by the Eagles to take them down. And that Eagles defense went out there and harassed and basically abused the Vikings offense and was a big part of that victory. By the way, in 2004, the Eagles also had home field advantage against who? The Falcons and the Vikings. I don't think it's a coincidence that when this Eagles team has home games in the postseason, they are winning them more often than not. In fact, I'd have to double check it, but if my memory serves me correctly, I think the last time the Eagles lost a home playoff game was Chip Kelly, the Eagles versus the Saints. Almost every other time the Eagles go to the postseason and lose in recent years, it's been on the road. And even during that stretch when you lost all those NFC championship games at home, and I know it's not something that Eagle fans are proud of, but they were still winning the rounds before at home. Yeah, they lost to the Panthers, and they lost to the Bucks in the conference championship games. But those weeks before, in the playoffs, they were at home, beating the Packers, beating the Falcons in their home field. The power of the Eagles' home field is why the next 4 games are so important. It's why this team is so hyper-focused on doing the job. They have to beat the Bears. They have to try, shall I call it, to beat the Dallas Cowboys. And if they can't beat the Cowboys, they have to embarrass the Saints and take care of business against the Giants. Because you go 3-1 down the stretch, you are in the driver's seat in the postseason. You trip up against the Bears, the Saints, or the Giants in these next 4 weeks, that home field advantage is looking tenuous. Because I know for some Eagle fans, they're already counting the Cowboys game as a loss. Before the season, when you do the win-loss record with the schedule, most people circled Christmas Eve as a loss for Philadelphia. And if that is a loss, it makes the other 3 games even more important to finish business. Because it's the only way you can guarantee that you can still get home field advantage. Right now, the Eagles are 12-1. If they fall to 2 losses, it's okay because they still have a 1 loss up on the Cowboys, and on the Vikings. But you lose another game somewhere along the way. Now you're down to 3. You have the tiebreaker over the Vikings, but you might not have the tiebreaker over the Cowboys. Listen, I think that this is why this is so important. Because as I said, I'm telling you guys right now, when I look at what is going to happen down the stretch here, it is vitally important for the Eagles to keep winning. Because if I go into one of these, playoff simulator situations, and I have the Cowboys beating the Eagles, let's say that's just a loss on the resume right now. I'm not saying it's going to happen, but I'm saying it could. You lose to the Bears, you're down to 3 losses with the Cowboys on the season. It's just math, guys. This isn't rocket science. It's just math. And the math says that the Dallas Cowboys can be the 1 seed and win the division if they beat Philadelphia Christmas Eve, Dallas wins out, and Philadelphia loses 1 more game along the way. It's just math. I am concerned. Now, I'm not worried, but I am moderately concerned. Now, I don't think this is an Eagles team that is going to lose focus. They don't seem like that kind of group of players. But I will say that the Bears are beatable. Might get a little ugly because Justin Fields has that kind of magic in his feet and his arm to make it interesting. But the Eagles should win that game. Look, I am right now going to pencil that game as a win for the Eagles. So then you got the Dallas game next week. Then you got New Orleans. You should beat New Orleans at home, right? But that last game of the season, if it means something, and the Giants trying to play spoiler or the Giants trying to play to get into the postseason, things get interesting. But it all starts this Sunday. If you are the Eagles and you want to be the 1 seed and you want to have that home field advantage, which has served you so well in your franchise history, it starts this Sunday with kickoff at 1 o'clock. Merrill Reese, Mike Quick on the call here on your home for Eagles football in South Jersey, 97.3 ESPN. Josh Hennig filling for Mike Gill here on the Sports Bash, being brought to you by the Gallery Bar, booking games in Ocean Casino Resort. Cheers your favorite drinks while cheering on your favorite team. Go to the Gallery and Ocean Casino Resort to go for the win. For more information, visit theoceanac.com. Must be 21 or to play. Gambling problem? Call 1-800-GAMBLER. By the way, shout out to Jeff in Ocean City reminding me about the Eagles' loss to the Seahawks at home when Wentz got injured and Josh McCown had a ripped up leg. But think about that. 1, 2. So we got 2 in the last 12 years. 2 home games you lost. You go back even further to the Andy Reid era. They lost in 2003, 2002 at home in the championship game. That's 4. So if you only have 4 or 5 losses at home over a period of like 2 decades, I think that means your home field advantage is pretty good. I was wondering if I was missing one along the way. And by the way, they probably shouldn't have lost that game to Seattle. That game was ugly. It was ridiculous. And one could argue that if they throw the flag on Clowney on the Wentz hit, maybe that game goes a little differently. Maybe if McCown doesn't rip up his hamstring in that game, maybe if guys don't drop the ball here and there, maybe the Eagles are just healthier. How about that? I mean, that team had so many injuries in 2019. But I still stand by the idea that home field advantage is important. There's no way Eagle fans let happen at Lincoln Financial Field what I saw last night in Seattle. There's no way that the 49ers are coming to Philadelphia for the NFC Championship game, that there's going to be a plethora of red to be seen in the crowd. That crowd will be Eagle fans. There will not be enough 49er fans in the stands to die out the Eagles fans on 3rd and 10, screaming at the top of their lungs at Brock Purdy and causing a false start on the offense because the cadence is all messed up. Keep it in mind. Home field advantage starts this Sunday. That's why the Bears game is important. Not because you are going to lose to the Bears, but because you got to take care of business. That's what this Sunday's game is. We'll talk more Eagles throughout the show still to come. Also, NFL Week 14 and Sixers back in action tonight. And all that and more, you can join the conversation on the text board 609-403-0973. Josh Hennig hanging out with you, filling in for Mike Gill on a happy hour Friday on 97.3 ESPN and the 97.3 ESPN mobile app powered by First Bank of Seattle.
Happy holidays to all of our listeners.
Ho, ho, ho! Merry Christmas!
Merry Christmas from 97.3 ESPN.
Cash in, wrap up, and save at the JCPenney Super Saturday Sale. This weekend, grab last-minute gifts like Disney toys and brilliant Yes Please diamonds for much less. We got your holiday.
Are you having a difficult time finding the right gift? Give them the gift of golf. The South Jersey Golf Card from Town Square Media is a $500 value. 7 rounds of golf with the area's best golf clubs for only $149. Your loved one will thank you for the opportunity to play Vineyard National at Renault, Rancocas Golf Club, Rock Manor Golf Club, and many others. Plus indoors at Shore Sim Golf, the ultimate virtual experience with relaxing Key West-style themed bays. Buy it today at SeizeTheDeal.com.
SeizeTheDeal.com.
Yeah, it's on at Matt Blatt Nissan.
Looking for some holiday cash? Then don't miss Matt Blatt Nissan's holiday vehicle buyback. It doesn't matter what you drive. AJ the Trademan wants to buy your vehicle today. Regardless of the make, miles, condition, or situation, AJ will buy your ride for cash today. So treat yourself to a brand new Nissan Rogue. 0 down, 0 payments, 0 interest on every new Matt Blatt Nissan Rogue. That's a brand new Nissan with 0% financing for 36 months, 0 payments for 45 days, and 0 money down. And AJ says you'll get more cash than you think and drive away with peace of mind because only Matt Blatt Nissan has a 4-day love it or leave it return policy. MattBlattNissan.com. Rate qualifications exist with approved credit 2017. Not all will qualify. Offers can't be combined. Call 877-289-6670 or go to MattBlattNissan.com for complete details. Offer ends 12/31/2022. It's on at Matt Blatt Nissan on the Black Horse Pike, Egg Harbor Township.
The final days of Winterfest are here at Lowe's. Save now before they're gone. There's still some time to check off your list with big savings on gifts your favorite DIYers will love. Find all the top brands and tools, smart home, small appliances, and more. We make shopping for last-minute gifts easy, too. When you buy online, you can pick up in-store now through December 24th. Celebrate the holiday season and don't miss the final days to save during Winterfest, only at Lowe's.
Why would someone looking for a mortgage at the Jersey Shore take a loan from a company in Detroit or North Carolina or some other far-off place? Online mortgages promise a lot but don't always deliver. First Bank of Sea Isle City knows the Jersey Shore. We are local lenders. We use local appraisers and provide in-house processing. We understand the unique obstacles of financing in Cape May County. Don't take a chance. Local banking is better. Let us guide you. First Bank of Sea Isle City.
Member FDIC, Equal Housing Lender.
Ray Magliozzi here for eBay Motors. Okay, easy now. You're teaching your kid how to parallel park. Ouch! Turns out he likes to do it by feel. Don't worry, eBay Motors has bumpers, taillights, trunk lids, license plate holders, 122 million parts. Pull up just a little bit. And headlights. They've got lots of headlights. Get the right parts at the right prices. eBay Motors. Let's ride.
Go to get your game on at the Gallery Bar Booking Games in Ocean Casino Resort this football season. Cheers your favorite drinks while cheering on your favorite team. Get in on the parlay while in the middle of a party. Go for the sports scene and go for the endless screens. Go to the gallery. Go to Ocean. Go for the win. For more information, visit theoceanac.com. Must be 21 or older to wager or consume alcohol. Gambling problem? Call 1-800-GAMBLER.
I wanted to know why some people who get COVID-19 get it so bad. I found out it may be because they have a high risk factor, such as heart disease, diabetes, being overweight, smoking, and asthma. Even if symptoms feel mild, these factors can increase your risk of COVID-19 turning severe. So if you're at high risk and test positive, there are things you can do, like asking your healthcare provider if an authorized oral treatment is right for you. Learn about an option at treatcovid19.com. This message is sponsored by Pfizer.
Hey, this is Guy Richards with Apex East Roofing.
Hi, this is Brighton Richards. We want to keep our men working so that they have a good Christmas. So if you're in need of a new roof, we're holding a Keep Our Men Working sale. Going on now through December 31st, go to apexeastroofing.com and get a quote in 30 seconds. Or call us and we'll be out within 24 hours to give you an estimate.
Get a price on your roof in 30 seconds at apexeastroofing.com.
You've been putting back a few, and a few becomes a few too many. For a moment, you think of calling for a ride, but nah, you live nearby. What's the worst that could happen? You get pulled over, your insurance goes up, you lose your license, you total your car, you kill someone. The results of driving drunk are tragic. That's why law enforcement is out there looking for impaired drivers to save lives. So if you think you're okay to drive after a few drinks, think again. Drive sober or get pulled over. Paid for by NHTSA.
Hi, it's Pete from Chicky and Pete's. 'Tis the season to ring in the holiday cheer, and nobody does it better. Chickies has you covered with complete holiday party packages, catering options, or on location with the Crab Fries Express. Plus, Chicky and Pete's gift cards for everyone on your list. Chickies and Pete's.
Now, back to the Sports Bash on 97.3 ESPN.
Can you really believe that we are basically a week and a day away from Christmas Eve? I mean, we all have the date scheduled on our calendar because of the Eagles, right? But we also have the date scheduled because of the holidays. Christmas Eve, Christmas Day, following weekend, New Year's Eve, New Year's Day. You know, it is Happy Hour Friday, so I want to throw this out there to all of you guys. You could text in at 609-403-0973. Here's the question. Because I'm starting to notice, maybe I just haven't noticed it in the past, or maybe I'm more aware of it now. When you go to have a drink, right? Like you're somebody who goes to your local brewery or your distillery or the local drinking establishment, you go out with friends or whatever. How many of you this time of year are seasonal drinkers? Like you drink certain beers or wines or whatever, whiskeys or, whatever your thing is. How many of you are actually drinking based on the time of year? Like, are you a seasonal consumer of things, or are you a consistent year-round thing? Because I gotta be honest with you guys. I am not a specifically seasonal drinker. If I'm consuming something, okay, it's not based on the time of year. But I'm noticing that a lot of people do consume, a lager versus a pale ale, or versus an IPA, or versus, red or white wine based on seasons. And I'm just curious if everybody else does. Because I'm trying to see if anybody can bring me over to maybe their side of this argument. Because I'm the kind of person where, whether it's something that's alcoholic or not, I just drink what I like to drink. I'm not that kind of person who goes out to, go crazy, or I'm not the person who goes out and says, if I don't have this type of liquid at this time of year, I'm bailing. Like, I've literally heard stories, people were like, oh, I went to an establishment, they didn't have the drink I wanted, I left. And I'm just like, I'm not that guy. It's not who I am. You know what I mean? If I go out to one of the local breweries here in South Jersey, I'm typically the guy who likes to go out, get a flight, try different things, and see what I like, what's on tap at that point. I'm that kind of person. So You guys let me know for the Christmas holidays what you are consuming for Happy Hour Friday. Text board is open 609-403-0973. By the way, Jeff in Ocean City says, Nick Sirianni is ready. I will be at the Eagles home games loud and proud. Just got to finish 3-1. He's got about 3-4 exclamation points on the text, says Jeff in Ocean City. You know, I think Jeff brings up a good point because I think that for the Eagles moving forward, Sirianni, I think his focus on the goal is a big part of this. You know, when I spoke to Emery Hunt a couple days ago about the Eagles, and I brought up to him the fact that the Eagles, if you include the postseason loss, they're 18-4 since Sirianni gave up the play calling duties. I want to remind you guys what Emery Hunt said the other day, because I think the Sirianni part of this is not being discussed enough. Again, this is Emery Hunt from CBS Sports HQ earlier this week on the Sports Bash here on 97.3 ESPN.
The head coach should be the head coach, the CEO, the great delegator. You can't go out there and want to be the play caller. And you see teams that do that tend to struggle. You see it with the Chargers. I want to still call the plays, but you're not getting the pulse of the team. You know, Sean McVay has had some success in doing that, but he's one of a few. He's a rare breed in terms of that capacity. The guys that are able to do it and do it at a high level are rare. So for a head coach, having that humbleness, say, you know what, man, I know I can call plays. I can just give my suggestion if need be, but I need to focus on what's going on with the whole team. Maybe if I'm calling plays, I'm missing the fact that this wide receiver is limping a little bit because he tweaked his ankle 3 plays ago, or my offensive line is tired. I probably need to punt the ball here instead of going for it on 4th down. We're going to get blown off the ball. So when you are the head coach, you get to see the game from a 10,000-foot level. When you're still trying to call plays, you still see the game from a play caller's perspective, and it kind of hinders the team as a whole.
I think the Sirianni side of this needs to be talked about more. Because if Sirianni, the leader of the team, is staying focused, keeping that, big picture point of view. If Sirianni is the one going out there and crossing the T's, dotting the I's, making sure everything is straight, everything is all together and figured out, I think that is the biggest key moving forward, because it's a leadership trickles down mentality. If you work at a job and the top of the food chain is positive, that positivity comes down the entire organization, and your employees are happier, and your shift managers are happier, and your assistant managers are happier, and the GM is everyone is happier up and down the company. But if you have a company where it's passive aggressive and it spews any level of negativity, you're creating a toxic environment. So if the people at the top of the food chain do not show appreciation and care to the people below them, then the people below them will not reciprocate that to the people below them, and so on and so forth. So I think that Sirianni, being the guy that he is, so hyper-focused on winning, so invested in his players, saying, I'm going to remove myself from the play calling responsibilities. I'm going to hand it over to Steichen, and I'm going to be the CEO of this team. You heard Emery Hunt say it. These guys who are play calling don't always notice some of the other things that go on during a game. Look, not every coaching staff has 2 executives on a coaching staff like the Detroit Lions are. You could argue the Detroit Lions right now are in a position to be the playoffs because of who's on Dan Campbell's staff and the fact that he's the head coach, Deuce Staley is the assistant head coach, and they work together with Aaron Glenn to run the entire team. Kyle Shanahan turns to Miko Ryans and says, you take care of the defense, I take care of the offense, and the other coaches are assisting each of us on each side of the ball. There's something to be said for the fact that Sirianni sets the groundwork and the tone for this team being focused and staying together. Now, look, I am conflicted, though, and I know some of you out there listening to me on 97.3 ESPN FM and the 97.3 ESPN mobile app, you may not like when I say that I'm conflicted on Sirianni being the coach of the year, but I really am, because coach of the year to me is more than just having the best record, for example. To me, coach of the year is the job that you did throughout the year. So, like, for example, to me, if a team like Washington reaches the playoffs, I think Ron Rivera has to be in that conversation. I think Mike McDaniel has to be in that conversation, considering what that team went through last year, what they are this year. The Giants and Daboll has to be in that conversation if he makes the playoffs. I mean, do you even throw in there maybe Zach Taylor and Andy Reid because of the different adversities and injuries that they dealt with this year? No offense to Sirianni. He has the best team on paper in football. And I don't know if that makes him coach of the year or not. You know, I think a lot of people, and maybe Mike McGarry will disagree with me on this coming up on the other side. I just wonder how many coaches are winning this many games with this roster. Press of Atlantic City sports columnist Mike McGarry joins us next here on a happy hour Friday edition of Game Night. Sorry, Sports Bash. See, I told you guys I was going to mess up the name some point this week. Josh Hennig filling in for Mike Gill on 97.3 ESPN.
Isn't there anyone who knows what Christmas is all about?
It's about sports.
Are you kidding me?
We got the Sixers, Knicks, and 3 NFL games on Christmas Day.
And there is a touchdown.
It's all on 97.3 ESPN.
The holidays are a time to unwind. At least they should be. So tune everything out and find some peace of mind in the turbocharged Acura Integra. Spend some quality time with the family in the spacious MDX Type S. Unwind at the Acura Season of Performance going on now. Acura, precision crafted performance.
Visit your Delaware Valley Acura dealer to find your Acura today.
I've been holiday shopping at Kohl's, and I've got to admit, their deals are some of the best I've seen. I've been earning Kohl's Cash every day, while saving an extra 25% on top of 50% off cute PJs and 40% off comfy slippers. Plus, I just got 30% off super soft Kookaburra by UGG bedding. With more gifts and more savings at Kohl's, the holidays just got so much cozier. Select styles. Offers end December 18th. Kookaburra by UGG. Coupons do not apply. Some exclusions apply. See store or Kohl's.com for details.
When it comes to wings in the Delaware Valley, nobody beats the Piccalilli Inn. Whether it's South Jersey's best wings, tails, or ears, let them know you're sauce champion. All 10 delectable flavors are going head-to-head to battle for number one. When it's game day, you just gotta head to the Pick. Visit them on Facebook or at piccalilli.com for their Pick game specials. And be sure to pre-order to guarantee your spot in Sunday's lineup. Nobody beats the Piccalilli Inn. Visit the one, the only, the original Piccalilli Inn, Route 206 in Chemong.
Ray Magliozzi here for eBay Motors. So you ordered a new air filter for your car. You try to install it, but it doesn't fit. So you take a little bit off the sides. Well, still doesn't fit? Well, you could try to sit on it. Or just go to eBay Motors and get it right the first time. With over 122 million parts, they have the parts that fit your vehicle. Air filters, tires, headlights, brakes, and more. Get the right parts at the right prices. eBay Motors, let's ride.
Hey, Philadelphia sports fans, JR here, the #1 documented source for 14 weeks in a row at wagerpro.com. And guys, I'll stake my reputation on this Philadelphia-Chicago game kicking off at 1 p.m. at Soldier Field. Call 800-499-3733. That's my famous recorded hotline. Call now, 800-499-3733. That's 800-499-FREE. I am releasing absolutely free the winner of Chicago-Philadelphia on a short 30-second recorded message. Call 800-499-3733. That's 800-499-3733. Even the number spells free. 800-499-FREE. Philadelphia's a 9-point road favorite. Guys, I'll let you know who's covering and winning. Call now, 800-499-3733.
Did you know that driving under the influence of marijuana is illegal? Driving high will get you a DUI. And if you're wondering if law enforcement can tell you're driving high, well, everyone else can. Friends,
I can tell you drove high.
parents,
I can tell when you drive high.
relatives.
I can tell. You drove here high, didn't you?
So what makes you think law enforcement can't?
I can tell.
If you feel different, you drive different. Drive high, get a DUI. Paid for by NHTSA.
Celebrate this season with 50% off everything at your nearest Banana Republic factory store. Discover a world of holiday magic with gifts to inspire everyone on your list, starting at $24.99, only at Banana Republic Factory.
Up at the dealership, people pause. Out comes good old trade-in clause. The perfect time of year to upgrade your ride. Trade in your car while the values are high.
Bring any trade to Matt Blatt Kia and drive home in a brand new Kia, even with 0 down and 0% APR financing for 36 months. Don't see your new Kia on the lot today? That doesn't mean you can't drive it home tomorrow. With peace of mind, Matt Blatt Kia's exclusive 4-day love it or leave it return policy. So if you have a job clearing $350 per week at Matt Blatt Kia, you're virtually approved. So why pay more when you can pay 0% with 0 down?
Ho, ho, ho. Boys, we're going to Matt Blatt Kia.
It's gotta be a Matt Blatt Kia.
Requalifications exist with approved credit. $27.78 per thousand financed on in-stock 2023 Sorrento Hybrid. Not all will qualify. Go to MattBlattKiaNJ.com for complete details or 888-506-4132. Price includes all costs to be paid by consumer, except for licensing, registration, and taxes. Expires 12/31/22. Matt Blatt Kia, 6211 Black Horse Pike, Egg Harbor Township, and now on Route 37 and Tom's River.
Now, back to more Sports Bash with Mike Gill on 97.3 ESPN, South Jersey's sports leader.
Sports Bash here on 97.3 ESPN being brought to you by East Coast Roofing, Siding, and Windows. When you call, they'll show up. Visit them online at eastcoastroofing.com. Mike McGarry from the Press of Atlantic City, sports columnist, must-win columns, pressofac.com, joining us now to talk a bunch of different things. Let's loop you in, Mike. So, is Nick Sirianni a candidate for Coach of the Year, and why?
Well, of course he is, because the Eagles are right now the best team in football, and the coach of the best team in football is a candidate for Coach of the Year. And I hear some people say the argument, well, the Eagles have a talented roster. You know, other coaches could win with this roster. Well, you know, the last time I saw somebody else coaching the Eagles, they were winning 4 or 5 games. So Sirianni has done a great job with the Eagles, and right now deserves to be mentioned as Coach of the Year, as Jalen Hurts does deserve to be mentioned for MVP, because to the victors go the spoils.
When you think about this team, how much is Sirianni? Because to me, I feel like he is dictating the culture of this team right now. Because I'll never forget how miserable people were when Chip Kelly was there that last year. Like, everyone was miserable in the building. It feels like it's like a trickle-down effect with Sirianni, that like he's focused, he's positive, and setting the groundwork for everybody else.
Well, I mean, if you're 12-1, everybody's positive. I think it's a total package deal, and he's part of the package, right? It's the front office by Howie Roseman. It's Sirianni and the coaches, and most of all, it's the players. I mean, the ultimate credit goes to the players. But I do know this: every coach needs talented players to win, but not every coach wins with talented players. And right now, Sirianni is winning with talented players, which sounds easy, but it's often not.
When you think about this Eagles team, for you, how do you, Mike McGarry, differentiate between what we are seeing with the offense and the defense? Because when I'm watching the Thursday football game last night, I know Shanahan gets the win in the column as the head coach, but that 49ers team arguably was one of the biggest reasons why they won that game last night. So for the Eagles, being the best record in football, right? Having this top 5 statistical defense, the number 1 scoring offense. How do you look at both sides of the ball?
Well, obviously both are performing very well. And, to me, if you were going to say to me, who's the guy that deserves the most credit for the Eagles' success this season, And it could be anybody, front office guy, coach, player. To me, it's Jalen Hurts. Jalen Hurts has gone to another level this season, and that's why the Philadelphia Eagles have gone to another level this season. His ability to make plays with his arms and legs. Now, you could tell me that, yeah, they got him better weapons, and obviously A.J. Brown has made him a better quarterback, and they put better people around him and a better coaching staff. But to me, I mean, how many times do I watch an Eagles game and see an offensive play and I'm saying, oh, that play is going nowhere, and all of a sudden Hurts with his legs turns it into a big gain or a big play downfield. So to me, if you're going to say who's the number one guy and the reason why the Eagles are the way they are today, is it would be Jalen Hurts. But again, a great quarterback having a great year can't do it on his own. So you've got the defense, you've got the skill position guys, you've got the front office, you've got the coaching staff. So it's a bunch of things coming together. And when a bunch of things come together, you win championships, because it doesn't happen that often, or you're in position to win championships. And that's what the Eagles are.
It sounds like you were also saying there, Mike, that you think Jalen Hurts is MVP this year.
Yeah, I think as of right now, as of December 16th, it might change on December 18th. It could change December 26th. It could change January 8th. But through the first 14 weeks of the season, Jalen Hurts is the guy right now.
What do you say to the people who say, like Micah Parsons, is it the system or is it the player? Like, what do you say to the people who say, hey, Mahomes is doing more with less and Hurts is doing great, but he's got better talent around him than Mahomes does?
Well, I don't know. Is Mahomes really doing more with less? I mean, he's got a very good tight end over there. He's got a great coach. Yeah, they don't have Tyreek Hill anymore, but, they got some good wide receivers.
That's
there.
a big butt, Mike. Tyreek Hill's a big butt.
Yeah, exactly. But, to me, I mean, you're never going to separate the argument from it's a team game. There are 11 guys on the field. If we just put Jalen Hurts out there by himself, he's going to struggle. So I don't think you can get into the more or less argument or this or that, no one was saying that Mahomes was only successful because he had Kelsey and Tyreek Hill when they were there. They were still giving Mahomes credit. So, yeah, great quarterbacks throw to great wide receivers. That's the way this thing works. The only example I can think of is where a guy was consistently great and didn't have really great wide receivers is Tom Brady, and he had maybe the greatest coach of all time. And the one year that he did have a wide receiver, they went 17-0 in the regular season and, got beat by the Giants in the Super Bowl. We're a quarter away from being a perfect team. So, I mean, all this works together. Yeah, great quarterbacks throw to great wide receivers, great coaches coach great quarterbacks, great front office guys have great coaches and draft players who develop. I mean, this thing is all intertwined. You just can't pull one piece out and say, hey, this is what's special about a team. It's all intertwined.
Mike McGarry for the Press of Atlantic City joining us here on the Sports Bash Happy Hour Friday edition on 97.3 ESPN. Josh Hennig filling in for Mike Gill. Mike McGarry, let me ask you about the 76ers. They're back in action tonight. They're going for their 6th straight home win. So, to Mike McGarry, have the Sixers found their way again, or is it still too early in the season?
No, shrug my shoulders. 6 in a row at home in December. Okay. Big deal. Again, to me, the Sixers are a team that will answer the questions about them when the second round of the playoffs start in May. If they make it this far, again, I say this. Right now, I believe the Sixers are 15-12. The New York Knicks are 15-12, and they are just as hot as the Philadelphia 76ers are. Do the Sixers fans out there think the Knicks are legitimate NBA title contenders? Well, they have the same record. They're just as hot. They have really good players, just like the Sixers do. What makes the Sixers any different? I can't get excited about the Sixers right now. They're not in the class so far of the Milwaukee Bucks and the Boston Celtics. As we said, that can change. The Boston Celtics, if you look back to last season, around this time last season were a 500 team struggling. They were talking about firing the coach. They were talking about trading either Jaylen Brown or Tatum. They end up in the NBA final last year, and now they're the best team in the NBA this season. So the sick things can change. But again, as of December 16th, the Sixers are playing tonight. Great. I'll spin around. I'll check in on it. If they win, great. But, 6 in a row at home, I'm not planning for any parades down Broad Street at this point.
What has to happen between now and the trade deadline? Do they have to make a deal, you think? Can they make a deal? Where do you stand on that whole conversation?
I don't think they are going to make a substantial deal. They might try to improve around the edges, but I think what they would say is probably, hey, when we get Tyrese Maxey back, that will be our deal. We'll get a healthy Tyrese Maxey back. We're playing pretty well now without him. When he does come back, we'll have that as addition. Sort of the way over the summer, the Phillies got a Bryce Harper guy back in August, and that was like their big trade line addition right there. So I think that's what the 76ers would say to you right there. They're not shaking up this core. You're not trading Embiid, obviously. You're not trading Harden, obviously. You're not trading Maxey, obviously. And you're not trading Tobias Harris. So you might shake up around the edges, but you're not altering the core of this team.
Mike, staying on the basketball court, you were in the house for Ocean City Mainland last night to mix a little local hoops talk here. Mainland obviously got the win over the rival. What are your thoughts this year? Because historically, Ocean City girls have been really good for years under Paul Baruffi. Now, Coach Gately is there. It's a completely different look on the sideline, and Mainland is still supreme right now.
Yeah, right now, Mainland, and that rivalry has swung back and forth over the years. That's one of the great rivalries in any sport in the area, especially high school girls basketball. Defensive struggle last night. Both teams kind of struggled offensively, but the Mainland regional girls, just a talent back from last season's defending Cape Atlantic League Championship in South Jersey Group 3 teams. Casey Bertonis, the Mazer twins, just a little bit more experience than Ocean City, but a lot of basketball left to play for both teams. And a great event coming up this weekend in Ocean City, tip-off weekend. If you're a high school basketball fan, get over to Ocean City. Some really great matchups this weekend. And, EHT St. Augustine boys, Mainland Atlantic City girls get a chance to see Quinera Montague, 6'5" Atlantic City senior, who's headed to Mississippi State. So, a great, exciting time of the year. A lot of stuff. Go to PressOfAC.com. We got tons. Football All-Stars, basketball previews, tons of stuff up on the website.
And he is Mike McGarry for the Press of Atlantic City here on a Friday edition of the Sports Bet at AC Press McGarry, where he has all the links there as well. So if you don't remember the exact Press of Atlantic City website, you just go to Mike's Twitter, click on the link, and boom, you're there as well.
Absolutely. And where's our guy Gil? Where is he this week?
Gil is off today. He'll be back on Monday.
Okay. All right. Just making sure. You
Listen,
and I are here.
Messenger, okay.
You and I are here. Where's Gil?
Listen, I'm just a messenger. Don't shoot me. All right.
There you go.
Mike, appreciate you jumping on. Have a good weekend.
As always, you too, Josh. See you later.
Josh Hennig, yes, filling in for Mike Gill on Happy Hour Friday on 97.3 ESPN FM, 97.3 ESPN mobile app powered by First Bank of Seattle. By the way, I asked earlier, are you doing something different for the holidays, for Christmas, for New Year's? Be with your drinking consumption habits, we'll call it, to be totally as generic as humanly possible. We got a texter earlier who said, I'm a casual throughout the year drinker, but I do prepare more for the holidays and plan with better quality spirits. I buy the more expensive whiskey for the holidays. That's what one texter said at 609-403-0973. So that guy say, look, I'm a casual consumer throughout the year, but when the holidays come around, I get the higher shelf stuff. I think it's interesting because, as I was saying earlier, I run into people when I go out different places, and I notice that if I see somebody throughout the year and I've gotten familiar with them and I see them consuming one thing one time a year, something else another time a year, I don't know. Maybe I can be swayed on this. Maybe I can be convinced one way or the other. Speaking of whiskey, one guy I know who actually is a very opinionated about whiskey is Andy McNamara. He'll be joining us coming up at 3:20 to get more into NFL Week 15, fantasy football, his thoughts on Thursday Night Football, Eagles, 49ers. Who would he pick in that matchup? We'll find out from him coming up at 3:20. Plus football at 4, powered by the Inside the Birds podcast. Adam Caplan, NFL Insider, will join us coming up at 4 p.m. And don't forget, more football talk with Casey Joyner. One thought every game at 5 p.m. tonight. And more Sixers talk. Bryan Toporek, the co-host of the NBA podcast, contributor for Liberty Ballers, will get his thoughts on the Sixers. Is he buying? Or is he like Mike McGarry? Is he still waiting out? And is Nick Sirianni your coach of the year? Coming up next.
Saturday morning in the locker room with Billy Schwein. Mike Carlin joins me in the studio. The Eagles head to the Windy City, and we'll look at the matchup against the Bears. The sportsbook consigliere Dave Sherpin checks in from Las Vegas, brought to you by Dino's Subs and Pizza of Margate. Hour 2, we'll talk with legendary sportscaster and spotter for the Eagles radio broadcast, Billy Werndell. And don't forget to check us out Sunday morning at yesterday's Creekside Tavern for our Eagles pregame show. It's the locker room with Billy Schwein, Saturday morning from 10 a.m. to noon on 97.3 ESPN.
Don't end up on the naughty list. Let Bob's Garden Center on the Black Horse Pike in Egg Harbor Township keep you on the nice list. Sleigh bells are ringing on Saturday, December 17th. 97.3 ESPN will host a guys' night out at Bob's Garden Center from 4 to 6 p.m. Enjoy delicious food from Ernest and Son Meat Market and get your hands on a pair of Birds tickets. Stress-free Christmas shopping, gifts for the women in your life, teachers, guy friends, and even your barber. The only place in New Jersey with 50 themed decorated trees. Bob's Garden Center in EHT, the place for all of your last-minute shopping.
Is your job recession-proof? Now might be the perfect time to switch careers and become an IT professional with My Computer Career. IT is listed as one of the top recession-proof professions. You could have your dream job in just months, not years. No experience needed. Take classes online or on campus, and financial aid is available to those who qualify, including the GI Bill. Go to mycomputercareer.edu and take the free career evaluation. It's not rocket science. It's mycomputercareer.edu.
When it comes to wings in the Delaware Valley, nobody beats the Piccalilli Inn. Whether it's South Jersey's best wings, tails, or ears, let them know you're sauce champion. All 10 delectable flavors are going head-to-head to battle for number 1. When it's game day, you just gotta head to the Pick. Visit them on Facebook or at piccalilli.com for their Pick game specials. And be sure to pre-order to guarantee your spot in Sunday's lineup. Nobody beats the Piccalilli Inn. Visit the one, the only, the original Piccalilli Inn, Route 206 in Chemong.
The final days of Winterfest are here at Lowe's. Save now before they're gone. There's still some time to check off your list with big savings on gifts your favorite DIYers will love. Find all the top brands and tools, smart home, small appliances, and more. We make shopping for last-minute gifts easy too. When you buy online, you can pick up in-store now through December 24th. Celebrate the holiday season and don't miss the final days to save during Winterfest. Only at Lowe's.
Want to hear a jingle? Yeah, neither do we. This commercial break is brought to you jingle-free by NJM Insurance. No jingles or mascots, just great insurance. Visit njm.com to see if you could save up to 25% on your auto insurance.
If you have certain chronic conditions, such as heart disease,
asthma,
diabetes, and you're 19 years of age or older, 52,
36,
42, you may be at increased risk for pneumococcal pneumonia. Ask your doctor or pharmacist about getting vaccinated with Prevnar 20, pneumococcal 20-valent conjugate vaccine, a Pfizer vaccine that can help protect against pneumococcal pneumonia in just one dose. Prevnar 20 is approved for adults to help prevent infections from 20 strains of the bacteria that cause pneumococcal pneumonia. Continued approval may depend on a supportive study. Don't get Prevnar 20 if you've had a severe allergic reaction to the vaccine or its ingredients. Adults with weakened immune systems may have a lower response to the vaccine. The most commonly reported side effect was pain at the injection site. For additional common side effects and full prescribing information, please call 1-855-213-2138 or visit Prevnar20.com.
I'm going to ask my doctor
about getting vaccinated
with Prevnar 20.
Oh yeah, it's on at Matt Blatt Nissan.
Looking for some holiday cash? Then don't miss Matt Blatt Nissan's holiday vehicle buyback. It doesn't matter what you drive. AJ, the trade man, wants to buy your vehicle today. Regardless of the make, miles, condition, or situation, AJ will buy your ride for cash today. So treat yourself to a brand new Nissan Rogue. 0 down, 0 payments, 0 interest on every new Matt Blatt Nissan Rogue. That's a brand new Nissan with 0% financing for 36 months, 0 payments for 45 days, and 0 money down. And AJ says you'll get more cash than you think and drive away with peace of mind because only Matt Blatt Nissan has a 4-day love it or leave it return policy. MattBlattNissan.com. Rate qualifications exist with approved credit. $27.78 per thousand financed. Negative equity will be refinanced into new vehicle. Rate qualifications exist. Not all will qualify. Offers can't be combined. Call 877-289-6670 or go to MattBlattNissan.com for complete details. Offer ends 12/31/2022. It's on at Matt Blatt Nissan on the Black Horse Pike, Egg Harbor Township.
With all the sports we have, every time of the year is the best time of the year.
And the crowd just buzzing with excitement.
On 97.3 ESPN, WENJ, WENJ HD, Millville, Atlantic City, a Town Square media station. This is the Sports Bash with Mike Gill on 97.3 ESPN. Now, live inside the Matt Blatt Kia Studios, here's Mike Gill.
3 o'clock hour on the Sports Bash. Happy Hour Friday, the week before the day before Christmas Eve. Josh Hennig hanging out with you on 97.3 ESPN. Mike Gill will be back on the Sports Bash this upcoming Monday. Get to more of your texts at 609-403-0973. You know, in just 1 hour, we hit on multiple different topics. We're asking you guys, should Nick Sirianni be coach of the year, or could anybody coach this team to a 12-1 record? We're also asking you on Happy Hour Friday, are you a certain type of drinker based on a time of year, or are you a consistent consumer all year long? So we got that to get to as well. Sixers back in action tonight. I wonder how many people are actually going to watch that game. No Steph Curry tonight. So does that dissuade you from watching the game tonight? Are you any more or less interested in this game tonight? And I mentioned the first hour, the importance of the Eagles in home field advantage. If you go 3-1 down the stretch here, you win on Sunday, it allows you the opportunity to, if you have to lose in Dallas, and if you win the final two, you're in. Now, if you win this Sunday and you beat Dallas, it puts you in a position where you knock the Cowboys out of position for the division. So again, it's a lot of interesting questions we have today on a Happy Hour Friday on 97.3 ESPN. By the way, so I had somebody text me off the air on my phone and said that they think anyone could coach the Eagles and go 12-1. And you heard Mike McGarry just say, look, he thinks that the coach with the best record, the best team deserves credit for a coach of the year. And I'm conflicted. Because on one hand, I do think that in football, the coach sets the standard. He sets the program. He puts everything in place. And that many times the players follow that guy. But I also feel like that there is something to be said for the fact that maybe this team is so talented that if the head coach was, let's say, Kyle Shanahan or Sean McVay or Pete Carroll or Ron Rivera or Brian Daboll, wouldn't they still be 12-1? Wouldn't they still have this phenomenal record that they have? Where do we draw the line between the players on the field and the coach on the sideline? And that's why I mentioned earlier Chip Kelly. I don't think I can undersell the fact that how miserable this team was and that locker room was in the final year of Chip Kelly. I mean, Scott Grayson would come on here for his Grayson's Graves with Mike Gill, and I would listen to him each week talk about, the vibe of the locker room, the bad energy, the negative feelings in the like it was just so bad. Now, Doug Peterson, he had to systematically start changing the culture that first year. That first year, between the Lane Johnson suspension and Josh Huff getting kicked off the team and all the other weird things that happened that year, it took Doug Peterson and Howie Roseman about a year to change the vibe and the culture in that locker room from what it was under Chip Kelly. Now, you could argue that because Doug Peterson did the work to clean up the culture, that when Nick Sirianni walked into the building, he had to just, earn the trust and respect of the players and not mess up a good thing, right? Look, Doug Peterson, after he won it all with Nick Foles, he went to the postseason 2 more years after that. It's not like the Eagles went to the playoffs, won a Super Bowl, and then fell off the face of the earth like the Rams doing this year. That's not what happened to the Eagles. Doug Peterson got them back another couple times to the playoffs. That 2020 year, it felt like just a collision of multiple things at the same time. It was Wentz's insecurity and fragile ego. It was how COVID was impacting the players on and off the field. It was the injuries that happened at inconvenient times that season. It was the pillaging of Peterson's coaching staff coming back to bite him. It was the lack of competent personnel on defense to run Jim Schwartz's. It was arguably some of the quote-unquote Joe Douglas picks coming back to bite you, right, for the Eagles. It was a variety of things all happening at once. And then the owner decided that he didn't want Doug Peterson to be head coach anymore, and they bring in Sirianni. So, I'm conflicted. How much of it is Sirianni? How much of it is the players? I asked the question earlier this week. Who deserves more credit for this 12-1 team? Is it Howie Roseman or is it Nick Sirianni? 70% of you voted in our poll on our Twitter account at 973ESPN. And I can confirm that 3 out of 4 of you on the text board were all giving Howie Roseman the credit over Sirianni. Now, some of you made great arguments why it should be Sirianni. I'll never forget the one texter on Tuesday who texted in at 609-403-0973, texted into the show and said, well, Howie Roseman brought the groceries, but Nick Sirianni still had to put everything together. He still had to prepare the meal. Nick Sirianni still had to take the puzzle pieces and make them all fit and put them out in the spread and make it work. So it's not that I'm trying to dismiss Nick Sirianni, but what I am trying to understand is where we draw the line. Because like I said last night, I was so impressed with the 49ers defense. And even though Kyle Shanahan gets the W in his column, gets a win in the column, DeMeco Ryans and his defense, I think, deserve more credit than the offense. And the second person who deserves credit for last night's win is probably the GM, John Lynch, because if Christian McCaffrey is not on the field last night, do the 49ers control that game the way they did? McCaffrey running the ball and the threat of him in the run and pass set so many things up for Brock Purdy, for George Kittle, for Kyle Shanahan's play calling. You could argue last night's game that Kyle Shanahan was 3rd or 4th on the list of people who are most responsible for the win last night. Again, I'm not saying Kyle Shanahan's a bum. I'm not saying he's a horrible coach. But I'm just putting it out there into the universe. I'm asking a question. on a happy hour Friday. Some of you are getting off of work. Some of you are counting down the minutes to getting off of work. And many of you at your jobs, you do things that the people above you, for example, don't want to do. You may have a manager at your job who is 2 tiers above you, who doesn't communicate with you well, and they're just off doing whatever, and you get dumped on by the assistant manager certain responsibilities because the assistant manager is being dumped responsibilities on by the manager. And you may say, well, that manager is getting credit for our company or my job doing well. But realistically, I'm the one who did the legwork. The assistant GM above me did their job, or whatever this, the hierarchy is at your job. And I just wonder, when we look at a situation like the Eagles, if Nick Sirianni is coach of the year, then what we're saying is Nick Sirianni has a high level of responsibility for the team's success. Some people say, hey, you could win with anybody coaching this roster. Again, I'm conflicted. Over on the text board at 609-403-0973. I asked you guys a little bit earlier about, what are you consuming this time of year? Are you a holiday season thing, or are you a I drink the same thing year round kind of person? This one texter, who I would love to give you your name, texter, but you didn't leave your name. So you're probably busy at work or something, I'm going to assume. Texter says, I'm a beer guy. IPAs, dark beers, German, etc. stays the same year round. There's a reason why all the pumpkin and Christmas ales are seasonal, because they're no good. LOL, says the texter. They trick people every year. Well, anonymous texter, here's the problem with that comment. I don't agree with you. I think that there's a lot of good IPAs out there, but I think some of those seasonals, those pumpkin and those Christmases, I think they are not the word you use. They're not bleep, okay? I think that there's a lot of great breweries in our area that do an amazing job making these seasonal or specific time of year brews. And I can sit here and list about a gazillion of them. I know that Mike Gill wrote his list of breweries he's planning to hit up on his off days over at 973ESPN.com. I know for me that I've been to some local places recently to try out a couple different things, and I've been impressed. I think that there are some of those pumpkin and Christmas ales and drinks that are not as lousy as you say they are, anonymous texter. I think that, if you are as you describe it, a beer guy, you say you like your IPAs, your dark beers, your German, etc. It sounds like to me that you're just a person who likes to drink the same thing year round. And maybe that's more of the reason why you don't like the other stuff, because you're just somebody who, for lack of a better term, you just stick with what you like. You don't like to experiment. You don't like to try different things. And you know what? That's okay. Jeff in Ocean City says, I'm enjoying an Angry Osprey slack tide on a happy hour Friday. Now, the interesting thing is, Angry Osprey made by Slack Tide, some people could describe that as maybe a seasonal brew, even though it's available year round. And it's like the biggest seller for Slack Tide, from what I understand, because it does have that little bit of spice in it. So it may be something that more people would enjoy, or at least certain kind of people would enjoy, maybe in the fall or winter. Maybe it's not in the summer. Other people would say it's a year-round drink. So that's an interesting one you brought up there, Jeff in Ocean City. By the way, Mike in Summers Point, thank you for throwing your name on there. Yeah. Listen, I think that, it depends on where you go, Mike in Summers Point. For example, I mentioned Slack Tide. I think that they have an incredible variety of seasonal and non-seasonals at their brewery. I think it was three had a pumpkin on Monday night. That was actually surprising to me. Now, I was also at the Witchcraft Beer Festival, and I got to sample a bunch of different things, and I had to say that I was impressed with a lot of those. Now, maybe I'm just the kind of person where I like trying new things. So maybe for me on a happy hour Friday, my inclination is to try different things. Slack Tie's got the Haywire down there. Ludlam in Cape May County has an incredible variety. Garden State Beer Company, they've hosted some of our Mike Gill events. They have an incredible variety on their tap of year rounds and some interesting seasonals. So, Mike at Summers Point, I hope I gave you some ideas. Now, the thing is that Mike at Summers Point, based on the fact that you like the darker, the IPA, you're probably looking for a certain style that kind of hits your taste buds a certain way. That's kind of what I'm getting from some of you on the text board at 609-403-0973. Jeff in Summers Point says, Josh, I stick to my Fireballs and my Bud Lights, perhaps a glass of eggnog, but that's about it. I stick with what you know. I did have a Christmas ale at Longwood Gardens last weekend that was tasty, but I'm one and done. Then I'm back to the Bud Light Fireballs. That's from Jeff in Summers Point. By the way, shout out to Jeff in Summers Point because him and Tom and Margate, every time I filled in for Mike Gill in the summer, they were hitting me up like, automatic. Hitting me up on the text board throughout the summer when I was filling in for Mike Gill. So I appreciate Jeff at Summers Point and Tom and Margate. By the way, like clockwork, Tom and Margate says, hey, Josh, I agree that Howie Roseman is our Eagles MVP, but Nick is the coach of the year in the NFL. By the way, Tom and Margate says, I am drinking Black Velvet Guinness with Prosecco. Tom and Margate's, enjoying Happy Hour Friday. I like it. You guys out there are already, tapping into the Happy Hour Friday stuff. Love to hear it. Josh Hennig filling for Mike Gill here on 97.3 ESPN FM and then 97.3 ESPN mobile app powered by First Bank of Seattle. Sports Bash being brought to you by Boardwalk Honda in Egg Harbor Township. Shop their entire inventory online anytime at boardwalkhonda.com. From Maine to Miami, nobody beats a Boardwalk deal. Back to what Tom and Margate said before he dropped in when he was drinking. He mentioned that Howie is the Eagles MVP, but Nick is the coach of the year in the NFL. And that's an interesting delineation because if I'm reading what Tom is putting out there, Tom and Margate is saying that I am a fan and believer that Howie is the reason why the Eagles are successful, but Nick Sirianni's done the best job of any coach in the league. And that's an interesting way of deciphering it. It's an interesting way of separating the two. Tom and Margate saying, look, the Eagles are 12-1 because of Howie Roseman. But Nick Sirianni has also simultaneously done the best coaching job in the league. And as we mentioned in the last hour, you could argue that a reason why Nick Sirianni has done such a good coaching job is because last year he took the primary play calling responsibilities off of his plate. He said, I need to be the CEO of this football team. And since that time, if you include the playoff loss, the Eagles are 18-4 in that stretch. So if the Eagles are 18-4 in that stretch with Sirianni handing off the responsibility, maybe that in part is another reason why he is coach of the year, because he had the self-awareness not to put the team in position to be successful. Some interesting thoughts here on a Friday edition of the Sports Bash here on 97.3 ESPN FM and the 97.3 ESPN mobile app powered by First Bank of Seattle. We'll get to more of your text a little bit later in the hour, 609-403-0973. But we got to get the break because coming up on the other side, Andy McNamara will join us. He joins me every Friday on game night, and Andy will join us coming up on the other side here on 97.3 ESPN FM and the 97.3 ESPN mobile app, powered by First Bank of Seattle. Josh Hennig filling in for Mike Gill on a happy hour Friday.
Get the gift of 97.3 ESPN this year for Christmas. It's cheaper than gift cards.
Merry Christmas!
Just tell a friend to download the 97.3 ESPN mobile app. It's free in the Apple Store or Google Play.
Merry Christmas!
Are you having a difficult time finding the right gift? Give them the gift of golf. The South Jersey Golf Card from Town Square Media is a $500 value. 7 rounds of golf with the area's best golf clubs for only $149. Your loved one will thank you for the opportunity to play Vineyard National at Renault, Rancocas Golf Club, Rock Manor Golf Club, and many others. Plus indoors at Shore Sim Golf, the ultimate virtual experience with relaxing Key West style themed bays. Buy it today at seizethedeal.com.
SeizeTheDeal.com. Meet Joe A, Joe B,
hello,
and Joe C.
What's up?
3 everyday Joes perfecting their banking with Chase. Joe A is locking his lost debit card with the Chase mobile app. Joe B is cruising toward his new ride with AutoSave. And Joe C's Chase banker is helping him budget to go back to school. Tools that help protect, support for what's next. One bank that puts you in control. Visit chase.com/checking. Chase, make more of what's yours.
Chase mobile app is available for select mobile devices. Messaging and data rates may apply. JP Morgan Chase Bank, N.A. member FDIC.
I never write reviews, but Navage is so amazing, I had to leave one. Nothing's ever cleared out my sinuses as well. I'm blown away by how Navage works. That's a review from Carrie, and it's one of over 100,000 online testimonials praising Navage. I'm Martin Hoke, the inventor of Navage Nasal Care, and I've talked about flushing out allergens, viruses, mucus, and germs, how Navage's powered suction can help you breathe better, and how your nose is the body's air filter, and Navage will clean it out. But don't take my word for it. What do people like Chad say, who wrote, Navage has helped clear out my nasal passages every single night. My wife says my snoring has gone way down. Snorefest be gone, unquote. Navage is the all-natural solution trusted by over 3 million customers to help you breathe better, sleep deeper, snore less, and stay healthier without drugs. Navage is available at Walmart, Walgreens, CVS, Rite Aid, Bed Bath, Target, and online. Navage, N-A-V-A-G-E. Clean nose, healthy life.
When it comes to wings in the Delaware Valley, nobody beats the Piccalilli Inn. Whether it's South Jersey's best wings, tails, or ears, let them know you're sauce champion. All 10 delectable flavors are going head-to-head to battle for number 1. When it's game day, you just gotta head to the Pick. Visit them on Facebook or at Piccalilli.com for their Pick game specials. And be sure to pre-order to guarantee your spot in Sunday's lineup. Nobody beats the Piccalilli Inn. Visit the one, the only, the original Piccalilli Inn, Route 206 in Chemong.
At the Home Depot, we have plenty of Christmas trees to make your holidays even more magical. Hundreds of full, easy-to-assemble artificial trees that look so real, you may be convinced they actually are. And for those who love that fresh pine smell, we have a parking lot full of fresh-cut trees to call your own. We'll even help you load your tree in the car so you can bring home the holidays. The Home Depot. How doers get more done.
You finally got that new car, so you called your insurance company.
Your call is important to us. Please hold.
We are the tippy top, we're top insurance.
You ended that call with their jingle stuck in your head. Then you called NJM.
Thanks for calling NJM Insurance. This is Claudia. Let's see if we can save you up to 25% on your auto insurance.
No jingles or mascots. Just great insurance. Visit njm.com for a quote.
I wanted to know why some people who get COVID-19 get it so bad. I found out it may be because they have a high risk factor, such as heart disease, diabetes, being overweight, smoking, and asthma. Even if symptoms feel mild, these factors can increase your risk of COVID-19 turning severe. So if you're at high risk and test positive, there are things you can do, like asking your healthcare provider if an authorized oral treatment is right for you. Learn about an option at treatcovid19.com. This message is sponsored by Pfizer.
Make this a holiday to treasure with 50% off everything at your nearest Banana Republic factory store. Discover inspired gifts big and small for everyone on your list, starting at $24.99, only at Banana Republic Factory.
'Twas the month of December, and all through the lot, people were shouting about the offers they got.
I got more for my trade.
These are the best prices in town.
They bailed me out of my loan. I was upside down. If you're worried about credit, stop. Just apply, because the staff at Matt Platt Mitsubishi wants to see you in a new ride. Ho, ho, ho. So if you have a job clearing $350 per week at Matt Platt Mitsubishi, you're virtually approved. Plus, every new Mitsubishi Outlander SUV puts 0 down and 0% APR financing for 36 months. Worried that your credit will keep you from getting a new ride? Matt Platt Mitsubishi wants to finance your future, not your past. Simply Matt Platt Mitsubishi. Requalifications exist. Not all will qualify. $27.78 per thousand finance not approved with Tier 1 credit. Rebates and incentives to dealer or call 844-946-2315 for complete details. Plus tax, license, registration fees. Offers can't be combined. Expires 12/31/22. So come in today and get your deal your way. Located right in the heart of Glassboro for over 30 years.
Now, back to the Sports Bash on 97.3 ESPN.
$3:25 here on the Sports Bash. Josh Hennig filling in for Mike Gill on a happy hour Friday on 97.3 ESPN FM. By the way, for anyone who thought they were going to be excited about Broncos Cardinals, Russell Wilson has been ruled out for Sunday's game, and your quarterback matchup is now almost like that the undercard fight on the pro wrestling pay-per-view that nobody wants to watch. It's Brett Rippon versus Colt McCoy. I mean, I know we're all excited about Brett Rippon, the nephew of Mark Rippon, versus old Colt McCoy out there. You know, I can't wait for this episode of Hard Knocks. I got a feeling that this one on HBO Max is probably going to be hilarious. Andy McNamara joins me here on a Friday afternoon. I know, Andy, you're excited about Rippon versus McCoy.
Baby, let's go. I got a soft spot for old Colt, former third-round draft pick of the Browns, right? I thought he could have. He almost had a chance in 2010, and then Holmgren came in, and they got Brandon Weed, and he got stuck under a flag, and well, that was the end of Colt. But let's credit Colt McCoy, though. That dude has hung around forever.
He has.
Good on him. And he comes in and he does well enough to keep getting contracts. Good for him.
Well, from what I understand, he's really good in the locker room. He's a guy who gets along with other players like him, you know, all that good stuff. You know, the intangibles people don't want to talk about sometimes.
Right. Yeah, the intangibles that we won't see on the field for this game. Ooh, what a dog. And you know, beginning of the year, people are like, oh, yeah, Cardinal, Russell, Will, Kyler, nothing. Even if those two were playing, it still would suck.
But you know what? Haven't we said that about a lot of games this year? There's been a lot of games that, like, you know, I mean, Monday Night Football is what, Packers, Rams, for goodness sake? Like,
we got Baker. Danger zone, baby. Danger zone. Let's go. Come on. Bake Show's back.
I mean, even Al Michaels is making fun of some of these games, you know, during the Thursday night game. He's sitting there being like, you know, can you believe we end up with this game?
I know Al Michaels like, why am I here? Yeah, I don't have to do this. I don't unless Al Michaels is heavily in debt to say, like, he should be fine. He should be fine. Just don't do it. It's done.
Unless Al Michaels is heavily in debt.
He might be. I don't know. He might be.
I want to first ask you about last night's game, because one of the things that stood out to me was that 49ers defense is incredible.
Oh my God.
And it felt like if you take out that final drive where Seattle actually did finally score, like the majority of that game, the 49ers looked like that they might be the best defense in the entire league.
I'm with you. Nick Bosa had a sack, what should have been a sack called back on a ticky-tack penalty as well. Another one. You got one. You should have had at least two. You're right, Josh. Like, this team, they're built for a playoff run, a deep one, and I'm kind of seeing shades of their Super Bowl year. You got a great defense. You have a quarterback who's playing good enough, right? And he's not turning the ball over. And you have a strong running game, probably stronger than you did with Christian McCaffrey back in that Super Bowl year. So 49ers, as long as that defense can stay on the field healthy, which has been an issue for that 49ers team across the board the last 5 years, they have as good a shot as anybody's getting out of the NFC.
It's absolutely wild that team is on their third quarterback.
Yeah.
And it's almost like, they look like they were better from Lance to Jimmy G.
Mm-hmm.
And it looks like that Purdy is really not like the greatest like drop off from Jimmy G. Now, I will say, not the playoffs yet. We haven't gotten to the postseason yet. Brock Purdy was not an immaculate quarterback in college. He did have some rough games at times and big moments for Iowa State. So he's not some sort of legendary, like Colt McCoy had like legendary status at Texas. You know what I mean?
He had the all-time college passing yards record when he left college. Like, he was prolific. Yeah.
Brock Purdy doesn't have that.
No.
So, I'm not going to act like Purdy is going to be some like great legend, making a run. But I will say that last night, I saw a lot of 49er jerseys, Andy, in that crowd. I saw a lot of that 49er red. Kind of makes you wonder, if he goes to Philadelphia or somewhere like that, there ain't going to be no 49er fans in that crowd.
No, there are. And the thing is, too, we haven't seen Brock Purdy had to lead back from like a two-score deficit.
Yeah,
that's
true.
That's where I think teams like that with quarterbacks like this who rely so heavily on defense and on the running game falter. Because if you get down, is Brock Purdy going to bring you back? Heck, maybe. Who knows? But it's not designed that way. It's not set up that way. You don't have a Jalen Hurts. You don't have a Pat Mahomes, Josh Allen, etc., who can do that we've seen do that. Now, in fairness, he hasn't had the opportunity to do that. But to your point from college, there's nothing in the resume of Brock Purdy to lead us to say that he's that guy.
Let's get to the Eagles, because one of the questions I asked earlier, Andy, I want to throw it to you here. Coach of the year. Now, Sirianni is the coach of the best team with the best record of football, right?
Yeah.
But does that make him coach of the year? Or is he the guy who just happened to be in the right place at the right time? Are they winning because of who's on the roster? Are they winning because Sirianni is, created this culture and this environment? He's fertilizing the flowers and everything, where do you draw the line on Sirianni getting credit? Because I'm conflicted on this.
Well, here's how I look at it, Josh. It's okay. Let's say Andy Reid and you have Pat Mahomes, Super Bowl winner, guys, an all-star. Well, all right, he was already good. So if you have a good record, you look at the steps, and we've been talking about it all year going back to last year, the steps that Jalen Hurts has taken from last year to this year. And you put the record on top of it, and you take the game planning that you've had to do to adjust and adapt and utilize. Oh, by the way, you lost Dallas Goedert for a good chunk of the year. And you're able to mix those pieces in. Of course, he has a good roster. You're not going to win in the NFL with a bum roster, right? So you have the best record with a still developing quarterback. That's why I think he deserves, if not the coach of the year, at least highly up there in the conversation, because you're doing it without an established star. You built the star. You built him. He wasn't there.
Okay, so if they built him, does that make Jalen Hurts not the MVP?
I think he should be in the conversation too for that, to be honest. I do. I think he should be in the MVP conversation. Should he win it? Well, that comes down to you have to mix him in with everybody else. But again, you see.
Well, who is everybody else? Because we all know the Micah Parsons audio where he says, oh, you mean Josh Allen? And even Von Miller's like, I don't know about Josh Allen. He's got to back it off of that. So, who is the crowd? Is it Mahomes and Hurts and who else for you?
Yeah, I think those are probably the two I'd be looking at right now. Because let's face it, it's going to be a quarterback, right? It's going to be a quarterback.
Yep.
Could you make, Christian McCaffrey isn't in that conversation. You can't put him there. We saw just a side note, what? I think we have to appreciate how good Christian McCaffrey is. Just enjoy it, because his neck injury, who knows? That guy's such a stud. But right now, I think it has to probably be within those two. Right? Is there anybody else who jumps out? If Josh Allen didn't have the elbow, perhaps. Joe Burrow early on in the year? Yeah, now, no. Having a good year, but MVP? I don't think so. Who else is even really in the conversation? I'm just trying to think. I'm keeping it quarterbacks in my mind, not Justin Herbert.
That's why I asked the question, because most people are going back and forth between Mahomes and Hurts. So that's what a lot of people are doing there. I've heard people say that Burrow can make a push. Frankly, it's probably coming down to just what happens in these final 4 games. Because, for example, if you're the Eagles and you win your next 2 games, you can go on cruise control. And how much does Hurts play down the stretch, right? But if you win against the Bears, lose against Cowboys, you need to win out to make sure that you hold off the Wolves at your heels, right? So does that amplify Hurts' stats? Same thing with Mahomes. Mahomes and the Chiefs, right now are still in position to get the number 1 seed. Well, if they lock up the number 1 seed early, do they go into cruise control for a week or 2? How does that affect Mahomes' stats?
Right, and I think at least we've eliminated the Geno Smith praisers, right?
Yeah, he's done.
They're starting to get, same with the Jets and the Giants, starting to come back down, starting to get figured out. And let's maybe, now it wasn't that long ago we were talking about, what about people talking about mega deal for Geno Smith? Let's relax. Let's, good. I think you can have him as a nice bridge. If you're Seattle, you got to figure out and get a quarterback because Geno Smith long term. Let's settle down. So really, who else in the conversation? Justin Herbert passing yards wise, but we're not putting him in there. 7 and 6, no. Joe Burrow can still work his way back in. I just love the combo of Jalen Hurts. He doesn't have top 5 passing yards, but the guy's the full package, right? So I think if I'm looking at my top 3, you got to have Mahomes, Hurts, and Burrow. And I also don't think necessarily it should just be based on the stat line, because should Jalen Hurts' MVP chances be punished for them winning and having to put it on cruise control? Should you be punished for that? Should you be punished for keep winning? And not, I don't think so. So I'm not sure if that's taken in mind with the voters, if they're just looking at the stats. But I think if they win and they sit him the last game or something like that, I don't think you should be punished for winning and having that option.
By the way, I'm looking at the schedule for the Chiefs and the Bills down the stretch. That Bills-Bengals game in a couple of weeks might be the most important game for the entire AFC seeding. I mean, that game alone could make a lot of changes for a lot of people.
Yeah. What's that, week 17?
Week 17, yes.
Week 17. When are they playing? Oh, that's Monday night, too. Woo, boy. Finally. Barring injury, that's got to be, and it's in Cincinnati. Oh, phenomenal. We need Andy, we need The Rock to come out for that game and say, finally, a game on Monday Night Football we can all tune in for. Finally, right? Like, that one, you're right. That could very well come down to top seed. That has huge implications. I think, too, what we're seeing is teams, again, like we talked about, the Jets, the Giants, the Seahawks. How about the Dolphins coming back down? Like the Dolphins, very, steady slide, not the juggernauts they were a while ago.
I hate to say it, Andy McNamara joining us here at AndyMC81. He joins me every Friday for Fantasy Football Friday. But we're talking a whole NFL today with Andy McNamara here on the Sports Bash. Josh Hennig filling for Mike Gill on 97.3 ESPN. It gets back to people like me, the Tua doubters, the people who are like, he's good, he ain't great, and it's like, his ankle, his concussion, he's missing games. He plays at 49ers, they get messed up. And I'm telling you right now, they're going to have problems tomorrow when they play Buffalo in that weather.
Yep. Bad weather at night, too, so you get that extra cold in the evening. It's going to be weather. It was interesting because you kind of had the reverse when they were talking to the quarterbacks this week. Josh Allen's like, weather's a real thing. You just have to, it's going to be cold. You got to adjust it. You got to play it. Tua's like, nah, not a problem. It's like, pal, come on. You're not in South Beach, bro. Okay?
No, but did you hear part of his explanation for why it won't be a problem?
It's mental.
So apparently Tua was working out with his brother Tagovailoa, who goes to Maryland. And supposedly they were working out in like March in like the Maryland area, and it was cold outside. And Tua, supposedly it was opportunity for him to see if he could, how does it feel to throw in the cold? Like, dude, throwing around with your brother in March is not the same as guys coming at you at 100 miles an hour. 1 Mississippi, 2 Mississippi, 3 Mississippi. Get the ball out of your heads.
Yeah, with snow in an important division game. Now you've lost 2 in a row. Oh, it's like, oh, the 49ers are hard. Yeah, but everyone was crowning you, so that shouldn't be a problem, right? And they had a heck of a run. Let's give them their credit. But then you lose to the Chargers.
Yeah, I mean, it's not just that, though. It's the fact that I think Tua has limitations.
Absolutely.
And I think that those limitations are coming through. And if you switch Tua and Justin Herbert's spots, if Herbert was in Miami and Tua was in with the Chargers, I don't think the Chargers have a winning record.
No, could you imagine? I was just thinking Herbert with Tyreek Hill and Waddle. Ooh, that would be
Gesicki might actually see targets of Herbert.
Oh, I know. What a fantasy-wise, not Gesicki's fault. He needs to get the heck out of there. Yeah, like for Miami, there's limitations. And you said it. Tua's good. He's not great, which is fine. You can still win games. You can still, if all the pieces are around you, you can still have a good run with a good quarterback. We just talked about San Francisco. San Francisco is a at least conference championship favorite with Brock Purdy. We don't know what the heck he is. And so with Tua, is he good enough? Yes, but we're also seeing that the last two games he hasn't been, and it's coming down. So now it's time, put on the big boy pants and let's you go toe-to-toe with your division. If you don't win this, that division's gone and you're going to be scrambling for a wild card spot. So let's see, Tua. Maybe he's got it, but those injury troubles have been back to college. And that, like Josh, as we see all the time, if you're injured a lot throughout college, that usually doesn't just go away. And we're seeing it follow him into the NFL.
Tomorrow at 97.3 ESPN, starting at 12:30 p.m. is coverage of the NFL triple header. Colts and Vikings is kind of a blah game, but the game before Miami at Buffalo is important. Not just because you're a Browns fan, Andy, but because Baltimore needs to keep pace if they're going to hope to win that division. And I got to tell you, right now, if you're running through that, playoff simulator machine, you got some questions if Baltimore loses that game, where they're going to be.
Oh, that'd be so good. I'll tell you, the team I hate most is Baltimore. It's just, I hate the Steelers, but I hate Baltimore more because those are my Super Bowls as a Browns fan. That's just stolen from me from that rat Art Modell. That's why I hate the Ravens the most. And look, here's the difference, though. They do whatever it takes to win. They don't care about it being pretty. They've scored their last 3 wins. They've won 3 of their last 4. They've scored 16 points, 10 points, 13 points. Should they have won some of those games? Nope, but they did. That's the main thing. So now you have Tyler Huntley officially in, cleared concussion protocol. J.K. Dobbins, not 100%, but he will play. And Gus Edwards, who's going to be a bowling ball against the Browns defense with lackluster defensive tackles and small and injured linebackers. So the formula is you just run right up the middle, just straight away, and they can't stop it. So the Browns 3 points favorites, that's, I hope, but all they got to do really, Josh, is you got to get it to the 45, and Justin Tucker can kick field goals all day. All day. Probably at midfield. You can kick it all day. It doesn't matter. So they're built with that tough defense with Patrick Queen, Roquan Smith, game wreckers. So you got those guys right there, and then you kick field goals. You run the ball. Don't have Huntley have to win it with his arm. And that's it. For the Browns, it's Myles Garrett has got, and he's feeling it, man. That dude's feeling it. So you got to be creative on defense. Get him opportunities to not be double teamed. He's the most double teamed pass rusher in the NFL this year, according to Pro Football Focus. So you got to find those opportunities. But the Browns seem to shoot themselves in the foot with self-inflicted wounds every game. So I can't say I have the confidence to do that.
By the way, no Chase Claypool this Sunday for the Bears. So I'm starting to feel like that 9-point spread for the Eagles is looking more appealing right now in Chicago.
Yeah, like Justin Fields, you know what? I like the development. I like the possibilities for next year for the Bears. That's a fun, like I said before on the show, he now could be on a similar arc to Jalen Hurts. Maybe not as much of a jump, but it's going up. And you have Cole Kmet. I think Cole Kmet, by the way, is a really good fantasy play. If you're playing your DFS, whatever, you can get Cole Kmet in. That's a nice little play, especially with Claypool out. So yeah, the 9 points. I don't see this one being necessarily really close. I think the Bears will keep it respectable. The 9 points makes me a little nervous because you're getting up there a bit. But like you said, without Claypool.
Yeah, I'm looking right now. I've been running simulations on the simulator since we've been talking. Like, literally, like, the two games that matter the most down the stretch both involve the Bengals. It's absolutely amazing.
Yeah. It's wild. It's wild. And now you look at
gotta love football.
Well, I'm all me too. And now let's see. If we're talking about the AFC seeding, Chiefs and Texans. Texans, to their credit, played the Cowboys a lot tougher. People were taking that 17-point spread for the Cowboys to cover it. Not great. Chiefs favored by 14. I think they could probably do it. And the Bengals Buccaneers, like only 3.5 against Brady and the Bucks. Like they suck. They're really bad. I would take the Bengals by a touchdown. Like there's no other way to put it, Josh. I saw them 2 weeks ago with the Browns beat them. They got and then the 49ers absolutely busted them up. You got DJ Reader at that D tackle spot, underrated defensive tackle for the Bengals. I don't think the Buccaneers come close. I think the Bengals, like I said, beat them by a touchdown.
By the way, you know the scenario where the Titans don't win the division, right?
Really? How?
Yeah. Basically, if the Titans lose 3 of their last 4 games, and the Jags can sneak in,
that'd be phenomenal. Sign me up.
And by the way,
up for the Jags.
One of those games, you ready for this?
Yeah.
Week 17, Cowboys at Tennessee.
Ooh, boy. Hey,
I'm
man.
not saying, but I'm just saying.
That would be fun. That would be fun. You know what? Good for All Elite Wrestling owner Tony Khan and his dad owning the Jacksonville Jaguars. Let's go. Go, Jim. Why not? Let's have some chaos. Let's do it. And also, hey, we talk about that. Don't look now. Tampa Bay Bucks and Carolina Panthers.
Yep.
There's a scenario where the Panthers win out. They got nothing to lose. They're playing well for Steve
Panthers
Wilkes.
got to win that week 17. That's the key. They got to go to Tampa and win.
Does Tom Brady retire if he misses the playoffs and loses to the Panthers?
And by the way, you know the Panthers play the week before? They play the red-hot Detroit Lions.
That team, man, they beat. Good for them. Dan Campbell's got him believing. 6-7. I hope they kind of build on it. They're a sad sack organization. Give it a little, they're fun to watch this year. But hey, man, they're
come on. You're a Browns fan. You got to have sympathy at least for the Detroit Lions.
I do. Well, they have a preseason trophy. It's called the Barge, and it is. I've seen it in person at the Browns Berea headquarters in preseason. Whenever they play the Lions, they used to do it every year. Now it's a bit more sporadic, but it's like this awful because it's like a Great Lakes team, right? Another Great Lakes team. So it's like this. It's like this barge. It's like awful looking bronze ship, and it's heavy and it's awful. And whoever wins the preseason game gets the barge. That's the only trophy those teams win.
And on that note, I'm going to let you go. At AndyMC81, go ahead and plug all your shows this weekend.
There you go. Hey, I got a big show coming out tonight at SickPod Browns, at AndyMC81 on Twitter, on Instagram, at AndyMC Sports. Fantasy football, hashtag Ask Andy. Got a lot of fantasy football questions answered. Get you set up for week 15 and some best bets as well. Getting ready for the Saturday games and Sunday and Monday too.
Andy, appreciate you coming on earlier in the day. We'll talk next week.
All right, buddy. Talk to you later.
Josh Hennig here, filling in for Mike Gill on the Sports Bash on 97.3 ESPN. And my conversation with Andy McNamara being brought to you by Jenkins & Sons. Trust Jenkins like 97.3 ESPN did, because we need to make our studio comfortable. That's who we called. No need to call the drain guy, the heater guy, the plumbing guy, because Jenkins technicians are trained to do it all. Call them today at 609-641-6262 or visit them online at jenkinsandsons.com. Coming up in 13 minutes, Football at 4 with NFL insider Adam Caplan.
There's never an off season for the NFL. It's Football at 4 every day at 4 p.m. on the Sports Bash with Mike Gill on 97.3 ESPN and the free mobile app.
With new inventory arriving daily, find your award-winning Acura at your local Delaware Valley Acura dealer and reserve yours today.
Dell Technologies' Days of Deals for Business start now with fresh, limited quantity deals on tech to drive productivity. Save on select performance laptops and desktops powered by 12th Gen Intel Core processors. Don't forget special pricing on the latest monitors, docks, and accessories, plus free shipping on everything, and special financing with Dell Business Credit. Call a Dell Technologies advisor at 877-ASK-DELL. That's 877-ASK-DELL.
With the holidays approaching, M&S Produce Outlet in Egg Harbor Township has it all for you. Whether you're looking for fresh produce or a variety of grocery items, M&S Produce and Deli Outlet has you covered. They also have a full-service deli offering Dietz & Watson and Boar's Head brands. Open 7 days a week. M&S Produce Outlet on the Black Horse Pike in Egg Harbor Township. Check out mnsproduceoutlet.com for great weekly specials. That's mnsproduceoutlet.com.
Ray Magliozzi here for eBay Motors. Okay, easy now. You're teaching your kid how to parallel park. Ouch! Turns out he likes to do it by feel. Don't worry, eBay Motors has bumpers, taillights, trunk lids, license plate holders, 122 million parts. Pull up just a little bit. And headlights. They've got lots of headlights. Get the right parts at the right prices. eBay Motors. Let's ride.
Hey, Philadelphia sports fans. JR here, the #1 documented source for 14 weeks in a row at wagerpro.com. And guys, I'll stake my reputation on this Philadelphia-Chicago game kicking off at 1 p.m. at Soldier Field. Call 800-499-3733. That's my famous recorded hotline. Call now, 800-499-3733. That's 800-499-FREE. I am releasing absolutely free the winner of Chicago-Philadelphia on a short 30-second recorded message. Call 800-499-3733. That's 800-499-3733. Even the number spells free. 800-499-FREE. Philadelphia's a 9-point road favorite. Guys, I'll let you know who's covering and winning. Call now, 800-499-3733.
At the Home Depot, we have plenty of Christmas trees to make your holidays even more magical. Hundreds of full, easy-to-assemble artificial trees that look so real, you may be convinced they actually are. And for those who love that fresh pine smell, we have a parking lot full of fresh-cut trees to call your own. We'll even help you load your tree in the car so you can bring home the holidays. The Home Depot, how doers get more done.
Why would someone looking for a mortgage at the Jersey Shore take a loan from a company in Detroit or North Carolina or some other far-off place? Online mortgages promise a lot but don't always deliver. First Bank of Sea Isle City knows the Jersey Shore. We are local lenders. We use local appraisers and provide in-house processing. We understand the unique obstacles of financing in Cape May County. Don't take a chance. Local banking is better. Let us guide you. First Bank of Sea Isle City.
Member FDIC. Equal housing lender.
Tax refund advance loans at Jackson Hewitt. Up to $4,500. Details at jacksonhewitt.com. Eligible clients can get up to $1,000 in December and up to $3,500 in January. Loans by Republic Bank and Trust. Finance charge may apply.
Up at the dealership, people pause. Out comes good old trade-in clause. The perfect time of year to upgrade your ride. Trade in your car while the values are high.
Bring any trade to Matt Blatt Kia and drive home in a brand new Kia, even with 0 down and 0% APR financing for 36 months. Don't see your new Kia on the lot today? That doesn't mean you can't drive it home tomorrow. With peace of mind, Matt Blatt Kia's exclusive 4-day love it or leave it return policy. So if you have a job clearing $350 per week at Matt Blatt Kia, you're virtually approved. So why pay more when you can pay 0% with 0 down?
Ho, ho, ho. Boys, we're going to Matt Blatt Kia.
It's gotta be a Matt Blatt Kia.
Requalifications exist with approved credit. $2,778 per thousand financed on in-stock 2023 Sorrento Hybrid. Not all will qualify. Go to mattblattkianj.com for complete details or 888-506-4132. Pricing with all costs to be paid by consumer, except for licensing, registration, and taxes. Expires 12/31/22. Matt Blatt Kia, 6211 Black Horse Pike, Egg Harbor Township, and now on Route 37 and Tom's River.
Now, back to more Sports Bash with Mike Gill on 97.3 ESPN, South Jersey's sports leader.
Wrapping up the 3 o'clock hour, Josh Hennig hanging out with you, filling in for Mike Gill on 97.3 ESPN FM. Still to come, football at 4, NFL insider Adam Caplan. Get the latest on the injury reports. I just told you guys a little bit ago, Chase Claypool is out. It looks like this is going to be a not a great week for the Bears in terms of injuries right now. It's not looking too good for them. We'll get Adam Caplan's full analysis, breakdown, and thoughts. Of course, the Inside the Birds podcast, InsideTheBirds.com is where you catch Adam and Jeff Mosher. Of course, they join Football at 4 each week here on the Sports Bash on 97.3 ESPN. Also, still to come, more football talk, one thought every game with the football scientist, Casey Joyner, at 5 o'clock. Plus, we'll get back into the Sixers a little bit because the Sixers are going for their 6th straight home win tonight. Does it even matter? Do we even care? I'm just asking. Look, I'm not going to act like the Sixers are the best team in basketball or best team in the city or anything like that. But you know what? I saw a Flyers team last night get outshot by almost double against their rival Devils. Carter Hart had 48 saves. The Flyers won 2-1. The Flyers are going out there, and they're probably one of the best teams in hockey through 2 periods, but they have so much trouble closing out games. And it was just watching the Devils take a million shots at Carter Hart and watching that guy stand on his head, all I could think of was, if the Sixers could give this effort, the Sixers might actually be a better team. Football 4, next.
Hey, it's Mike Gill from the Sports Bash. Join me this Saturday from 4 to 6 for a guys' night out at Bob's Garden Center on the Black Horse Pike in Egg Harbor Township. Taste delicious food from Ernest & Sons Meat Market and get your hands on a pair of Birds and Saints tickets. Bob's Garden Center is your one-stop shopping this holiday season. Bob's Garden Center, gifts galore for easy grab and go. Don't end up on the naughty list. Plus, a pair of Eagles Saints tickets. Stop out and see me this Saturday from 4 to 6.
Health Update with Robin Stoloff. Learn more, live better.
Hosting the holiday gathering? Here are the core 4 food safety tips to keep you and your guests safe from foodborne illness. Clean, separate, cook, and chill. Clean all surfaces and your hands with warm water and soap after preparing each item. Separate raw meat, poultry, seafood, and eggs from other foods. Use one cutting board for fresh produce and a separate one for meat. Cook food to a high enough temperature to kill harmful bacteria. Use a food thermometer and check guidelines for each individual food. Finally, refrigerate foods quickly because cold temperatures slow the growth of harmful bacteria. Avoid overstuffing the refrigerator for better air circulation and keep it at a temperature of 40 degrees or below. If you're the host this holiday, follow the core 4 food safety steps. I'm Robin Stoloff for Health Update.
Health Update with Robin Stoloff, empowering you to live a healthier life.
With GMF financing, to qualify buyers excludes Corvette.
It may be cold outside, but the deals are smoking at Bennett Chevrolet. It's our red-hot clear-the-lot year-end sale. While they last, everybody gets GM supplier employee pricing on new Chevys. That's right, everybody pays what our supplier employees pay and not a penny more. Even when other dealers are selling for thousands over sticker, Bennett is selling at GM supplier employee prices. But hurry, this incredible deal is on new Chevys and they will sell out fast. Save even more with rates as low as 3.99%. And every pre-owned's on sale too. This may sound unbelievable, but Bennett's paying a minimum $10,000 for the worst clunkers towards any pre-owned in stock. Yes, a minimum $10,000 for total Imagine how much you'll get for a trade that actually runs. And our non-commissioned sales team is paid not on how much you spend, but on your satisfaction. So you know you will be satisfied. Find new roads at Bennett Chevy, Egg Harbor Township, and BennettChevy.com.
At the Home Depot, we have plenty of Christmas trees to make your holidays even more magical. Hundreds of full, easy-to-assemble artificial trees that look so real, you may be convinced they actually are. And for those who love that fresh pine smell, we have a parking lot full of fresh-cut trees to call your own. We'll even help you load your tree in the car so you can bring home the holidays. The Home Depot, how doers get more done.
Dancing crew, trip for two.
Nailed the final interview. Game with Doug. Brand new mug. Come here, kid. Give me a hug. The more you want to do, the more we want to do. New COVID-19 boosters designed for recent Omicron variants are now available. Learn about eligibility and schedule a free updated booster today at vaccines.gov. Sponsored by Pfizer and BioNTech.
Welcome to America, the land of junk sleep, where it's bedtime, but you're double booked. Here, there's always one more deadline to meet, episode to watch, or meme to share. The world may not want you to sleep, but we do. Only the sleep experts at Mattress Firm can help you find the right bed at the right price. Unjunk your sleep. In-store or online at mattressfirm.com today.
Oh yeah, it's on at Matt Blatt Nissan.
Looking for some holiday cash? Then don't miss Matt Blatt Nissan's holiday vehicle buyback. It doesn't matter what you drive. AJ the Trademan wants to buy your vehicle today, regardless of the make, miles, condition, or situation. AJ will buy your ride for cash today. So treat yourself to a brand new Nissan Rogue. 0 down, 0 payments, 0 interest on every new Matt Blatt Nissan Rogue. That's a brand new Nissan with 0% financing for 36 months, 0 payments for 45 days, and 0 money down. And AJ says you'll get more cash than you think and drive away with peace of mind, because only Matt Blatt Nissan has a 4-day love it or leave it return policy. MattBlattNissan.com. Rate qualifications exist with approved credit. $27.78 per thousand financed. Negative equity will be refinanced into new vehicle. Rate qualifications exist. Not all will qualify. Offers can't be combined. Call 877-289-6670 or go to MattBlattNissan.com for complete details. Offer ends 12/31/2022. It's on at Matt Blatt Nissan on the Black Horse Pike, Egg Harbor Township.
A Town Square media station serving all of South Jersey. This is 97.3 ESPN, home of the Philadelphia Eagles.
Hey, got 'em!
WENJ HD, Millville, Atlantic City. 97.3 ESPN presents The Sports Bash with Mike Gill. It's time for Football at 4 with Adam Caplan.
I have real confidence that our football operations can once again create a dominant football team.
Powered by the Inside the Birds podcast. Now, live from inside the Matt Black Kia Studios. It's Football at 4.
Friday's edition of Football at 4 being sponsored by EMT Solar and Roofing. See if your home qualifies for a free roof with solar installation. No commitments, no hidden fees. Go to ESPNsolar.com to see if you qualify. It's a Friday edition of Football at 4, and the latest Eagles injury report just came out. And if you have been listening to the Inside the Birds podcast with Adam Caplan and Jeff Mosher, the name who was ruled out does not surprise you. And we'll bring in Adam Caplan, now NFL insider at Caplan NFL on Twitter. Adam, welcome back in. How you doing today?
Josh, good to be with you. Yeah, look, we knew Reed Blankenship wasn't going to play with his MCL sprain. He's out, and everyone else will be available, including Sean Bradley is one of their key special teams players. So that's it. Yeah, everyone else worked today, and that's it. And there absolutely zero surprises. But the big surprise here's for the Bears. Chase Claypool will not play with his knee injury.
Yep.
So with him being out and Darnell Mooney being on injured reserve, they're in real dire straits. Look, they have a bad football team as it is. Claypool, they stupidly gave up a second-round pick for. The Steelers were shopping him. They were glad to move him. What a steal they've gotten so far. So now with Claypool out, it'll be N'Keal Harry, it'll be EQ St. Brown, and Byron Pringle and Dante Pettis. Those are the guys who will play. They're all backups, but this is all they have, and this is what they're going to have to go with. And the Eagles, by the way, their cornerback tandem, number 1 in the NFL in terms of giving up the least amount of production. I mean, good luck, Bears, this week.
Yeah, ain't that true? Now, before we get too much into the Bears, because there's a lot of information that shows that the Bears are pretty much just a dumpster fire heading into this game, Adam. I want to get back to the safety thing, because for those who didn't listen to Wednesday's Football at 4, I thought Jeff Mosher brought up a great point about, and you guys mentioned this also on your podcast, about the style the Eagles run their defense. We might see more of Josiah Scott at that safety position, right? So explain to the audience what happens when Reed Blankenship is out, what that means for the depth chart there.
Yeah, so what happened last week is, because what I'm told is actually Josiah Scott has got periodic snaps in practice at safety. He did in training camp, then he stopped, and then what I'm told is during practice during the season he's gotten some. And you just saw it. He played in sub packages at safety, particularly after Blankenship got hurt in this last game. And then they also used Kevon Wallace as sort of more of a base unit safety. But look, it's not good. If they're playing a better team, you'd really worry about it. And the Eagles do believe Blankenship, as of now, has a chance to come back before the end of the regular season. But yeah, this is a problem. Look, with the trade deadline, Josh, passing, the Eagles just don't have any depth anymore at safety. They're completely depleted there. It's right now. It's Marcus Epps, who's been terrific, having a breakout season. It's Wallace, whatever Scott could give him at safety, and Anthony Harris and Andre Sachare. One of them you could expect to be elevated. Well, actually, only Sachare's run out of elevations for the regular season. He can only be signed off of it. Where Anthony Harris is back with the team, has gotten some practice reps this week, so they could take a look at him.
So without Chase Claypool, the Eagles without Reed Blankenship, it seems to me, Adam, that if you look at the Bears offense versus the Eagles defense, this is looking more and more like a trenches game, right? The Bears O-line versus the Eagles front seven.
Yeah, and the Bears have a bottom 10 offensive line. What they're going to do in this game, Josh, is they're going to start Riley Reif at right tackle. Larry Bourne was their right tackle. He's been out for a while with a knee injury. He won't play this week. That, to me, is a tremendous advantage for the Eagles going against Riley Reif, who started at left tackle in the NFC Championship game in 2017. To me, it's kind of like last week. The Eagles have a decided advantage. I expect them to take advantage of it. I know it's going to be cold. I get that. It'll be in the 20s. We'll see what the wind looks like. But the Eagles, Josh, if the wind is not too bad, they're going to come out throwing. They do most games, other than really the Green Bay game and one other, they come out throwing because this has been their belief for 30 years. You throw to score to win early, and then you run to win in the second half.
You mentioned the Eagles offense. The Bears defense seemingly feels like it's been getting worse every week. Their passing defense, 204.2 per game, 207 per game in the last three. Their run defense is not better. So it feels like this should be a game, Adam, that the Eagles should be able to get out in front early.
Yeah, and the reason why they're not giving a ton of yards is because teams have run so well over going against them. You can pick your poison. Now, they're very young but talented, Josh, are the Bears in their secondary. And they're going to get a bunch of guys back. Before their bye, they were without several players. Now, they're going to get Jaquan Brisker back from his concussion, who's their second-round pick out of Notre Dame. Their nickel corner, Kendall Vildor, love that name. He's back. Kyler Gordon, their other starting rookie corner, he'll be back from his injury. So they're talented but very young. I'll be interested to see what happens if it's windy, right? If they just don't think they could pass very much. Okay, so we know the Eagles could run on Chicago. Chicago's a bad run defense. It's just what happens when you march downfield. You got to throw the ball at some point. Oh, by the way, we didn't mention Dallas Goedert. Barring a surprise, he'll be activated by tomorrow's 4 p.m. deadline. Unless he has some kind of setback. If he doesn't get activated, it'll be the next week. And that, by the way, remember, they play next Saturday. And we'll look into what the rule would be. I'm assuming it's kind of like for a Monday night game that you have until 4 p.m. Eastern on that day to activate the player.
You mentioned Goddard. So the Eagles receivers and tight ends versus the Bears DBs. You mentioned Brisker. What are some of the other matchups to keep an eye on?
Yeah, to me, if you're the Eagles, Josh, and you go into this game, you know that they have no pass rush. They have arguably the NFL's worst pass rush. That's why I'm saying, folks, if they could protect, they'll be able to throw. They have an inexperienced but talented young secondary that has not played very long together. So to me, if you protect, you take what shots that you can. Maybe the screen game, if you can't throw the ball downfield, comes into play. But this is every matchup, Josh, the Eagles have an advantage. It's just, if this had been under normal conditions, I would see the Eagles throwing the ball 30 times in the first half. They threw it high 20s last week. But again, the weather will play. It's going to be cold in the 20s. We just don't know about the wind. Wind could always change. And by the way, teams will change. If the wind dies down, teams will start throwing. They'll just start throwing. This is the way it is with teams that are very proactive with the passing game. But again, it's just matchups. Eagles have the Bears have a very bad pass rush. They're young at linebacker. They're also small on the front seven. the Eagles should have no problem moving the football against this defense.
You mentioned that front seven. So what does that mean for Miles Sanders potentially on Sunday? He's the first Eagle running back to get 1,000 yards since LaShawn McCoy in a season.
Yeah, in fact, I have him as my player of the game for Sunday. That's the guy I think. And obviously he's headed for 1,400 plus yards, 14 to 16 touchdowns. Knock on wood, he doesn't get hurt. That's also been a key. He's on a final year of his rookie deal. We get that. It's just a breakout season, one of the best for any running back in Eagles history. And it's going to set up really an interesting situation with his contract because the Eagles don't like to let their own players go. They'll certainly have leverage in the situation. It's a good free agency class. Super early word on the running back class is good. So look, I know the Eagles, I'm sure they'll want to bring him back, but it's always the opportunity cost. And they've been more willing to walk away from players in recent years than they had when Howie Roseman was young as a GM.
Adam Caplan here on Football at 4, powered by the Inside the Birds podcast at Caplan NFL on Twitter. You don't forget the Inside the Birds pregame and postgame shows this Sunday over on the Inside the Birds YouTube channel. Adam, you mentioned a couple times that the Bears have talent, but they're very young. This is a team that now has lost 6 games in a row, 9 of their last 10 after starting the season 2-1. For Eagle fans who have not really sat around and watched the Bears this year, why has this team fallen off?
Lack of overall talent, Josh. And I get that this is a situation where the team is kind of in a rebuild. Justin Fields, who we haven't talked about yet, who got off to a very bad start. He's been better lately. Obviously, he's been dynamic running, maybe the best running quarterback in the NFL, but he's got a great arm. He's got good size at 6'4", 225-ish, 220, 225. Look, they have to kind of rebuild the receiver core. This is mostly a backup receiver core that has to play a lot. They'll get Darnell Mooney back next season. He's had ankle surgery. They'll also be without Eddie Jackson, their star safety. We should mention that he's done for the season after foot surgery. So in the end, Josh, when you look at it, it's just a lack of talent, and that's why they're so bad. Though, how in the heck did they win at New England earlier this season?
I mean, that's what I was thinking. I'm like, that just had to be Justin Fields' magic at that point. I mean, the Bears even gave the Cowboys a scare earlier this year with Justin Fields running around crazy.
Yeah. Oh, I know. Well, there was a ton of points but there was over 70 points scored in that game. That was a fun game. The thing about the Bears is they give up a lot of big plays. Every once in a while, they'll make a big play, but they just have to kind of rebuild their football team. They're one of the least talented teams in the NFL, and I expect that to show on Sunday.
When you say they're one of the least talented teams, but they have Justin Fields, it's interesting that, for the Eagle fan out there, they know Justin Fields, though. Eagle fans know that name. They know what he's capable of. So what is the key for the Eagles defense to not let Justin Fields have the kind of game to scare the Eagles?
And Josh, that is the key to this game for the Eagles. You're not going to stop Justin Fields. It's just not going to happen. You could control what he does. And we talked about this in today's show. There's what's called a mush rush. That's when you do not rush the passer. You take up lanes. This is what the late Jim Johnson did in 2005 against Michael Vick. When the Eagles played the Falcons in that game, they tattooed him. They were not going to let him get away. They boxed him in. And to me, that's what you do. You make him a passer. He's not even remotely close to where Jalen Hurts is as a passer. Yes, he's very talented. And yes, he was more highly thought of coming into the draft than Hurts was, but that doesn't matter anymore. It's where these guys are. And to me, if you're the Eagles, you do not get upfield. You play this guy to make him a passer, and he'll throw picks. He's just not experienced enough. Make him a passer. And by the way, 21.1 attempts per game, lowest in the National Football League for any passer over 5 games.
I mean, that number is insane. That's like a number from like the 80s or something.
Exactly. It's crazy. So, to me, when you look at it, Josh, you just have to make him passer. David Montgomery's a fine back. The Eagles don't care. Let him run all day. They love that. They love David Montgomery to run the ball. They know that they'll kill them if they do that. It's just not letting Justin Fields break their backs. Those demoralizing 40 or 50-yard runs, it kills defensive players. It kills coordinators. It frustrates them. And I'm sure Jonathan Gannon and his defensive staff will have a game plan for it.
You mentioned Gannon. That's the last thing I want to get to with the defense with you, Adam, and that is the Eagles' run defense has gotten better in recent weeks. They've stayed on assignment. They've gotten better. You guys talked about on the game tape on the Inside the Birds podcast about how they're staying on assignment better than they were in previous games.
Yeah, they're just not making the mental errors. It's pretty remarkable. This is a very good execution style defense, the Eagles. Their handoff system at their matchup zone. This is what they wanted to do last year. They didn't do enough of it because of problems at corner, opposite Slay, but they don't have that problem anymore. It's just all working out. Their linebackers execute, they blitz, they tackle well, they blitz when they're asked to. They were talking about the inside linebackers. And then you've got the defensive line rotation, best of the National Football League. And just the depth that they have in the rotation. And I got to tell you, last week, Josh, Hassan Reddick was absolutely he's probably not only his best game as an Eagle, and I know he's had some good games in his career. I can't imagine he had a better game before. It's not about a sack here or sack there. It's about the constant pressure, and the Giants had no answer for him. They just couldn't block the guy. He's one of the fastest edge rushers in the National Football League, and you can certainly see it week after week.
You mentioned how fast he is. Is he one of the keys maybe to keep Fields in check, is having a guy like him maybe on the edge in containment?
Yeah, he's just not big enough, though. That's the problem. He's only 6'1", 230,
Gotcha.
235, and that's just not the way you would do it. But I'll tell you what, he has not embarrassed himself in pass coverage. I know people had issues with that coming into the season. It's not been a problem. They're not getting killed by tight ends or screens to the running backs. It's kind of worked out. What a great signing he's been. I know people are concerned paying him $15 million a year. I'd have to say this right now. It's a bargain based on the way he's played.
Adam, before I let you go, your final thought on the Eagles Bears. Most people expect the Eagles to win the game on Sunday, but we know the line is 9 right now.
I expect them to cover that. I do. I know most, and I've been right every week in terms of picking the right side. I picked the Eagles every week. Well, actually, I'm sorry, I got it one wrong when Washington beat them. But
one out of 13 is a pretty good number.
Bad, but I have not picked a blowout. Really, this is the first one. I assume Justin Fields will get his, maybe 70, 80 yards. But here's the problem. The Bears are not going to stop the Eagles' offense. Only the Eagles could stop themselves. We saw that in against Washington with 4 turnovers. So, no, I expect them to win rather handily and to get ready to clinch the division when they win at Dallas next week.
Dallas week on a short week next week. And make sure to check out the Inside the Birds podcast, Inside the Birds YouTube channel for the pre and the post game. I love the post game with you, Jeff, and Trey Thomas. Always great stuff on there. And also InsideTheBirds.com. He's Adam Caplan at Caplan NFL. Adam, great stuff today.
Thank you. See you.
And, of course, today's edition of Football 4 being brought to you by EMT Solar and Roofing. See if your home qualifies for a free roof with solar installation. No commitments, no hidden fees. Go to ESPNSolar.com to see if you qualify. So let's recap a couple things Adam said. I thought it was a great point that he brought up about how this Bears team is so banged up. They're so injured. I mean, Justin Fields is literally throwing the dudes that couldn't make it on other teams. N'Keal Harry is a first-round bust as a draft pick. Dante Pettis was a phenomenal talent in college, hasn't really made it too much of a dent in the NFL. No Claypool means they lose their only deep threat left. Darnell Mooney out for the year. I mean, you heard Andy McNamara in the last hour. He talked about, hey, Cole Kmet shrugged shoulder. Maybe he sees some targets. This feels like up and down. The Eagles should go in there dominate. But Adam said it multiple times there. How does the wind impact the game? I thought it was very interesting about when you look at the wind situation. Now, the forecast, as Adam said, can change. But if it gets a little extra windy, if it gets a little extra dicey for throwing the ball, how quickly do the Eagles lean into that running game? And I think that's the most interesting point about this game, because I believe the Eagles want to do to the Bears what they did last week to the Giants. I think they want to get out to a big lead, control the game, hit the cruise control button, get the starters out in the fourth quarter, and get ready for Dallas. I think that's what the ultimate plan is for the Eagles. And I think that they got to figure out the best way to get that lead and hold it. Look, this is a Bears team. Clay Harbor was on with Mike Gill yesterday and said that they may have the worst defense in all the NFL. Well, you look at the Bears defense statistically, the Bears defense, run defense, is atrocious. Their pass defense has been all right. It's the run defense that has been really problematic. So, look, you may want to throw the ball if you're the Eagles, but this is a Bears defense, passing-wise, that did all right against the Packers and the Jets and the Falcons. But the run game is what destroyed them in the end. So when you think about it, do the Eagles run first, then pass? Do they pass to set up the run? I think that's where the interesting question is. We know the Eagles are going to win this game. How they win it, that is the biggest question of the day. I'm Josh Hennig, filling for Mike Gill here on a happy hour Friday edition of the Sports Bash on 97.3 ESPN FM, 97.3 ESPN mobile app powered by First Bank of Sea City. Still to come. Coming up in 20 minutes, we'll get into the 76ers who play tonight. Coverage begins at 7:30 p.m. here on 97.3 ESPN. Sixers going for 6 straight home games. I asked the question earlier, and I'll ask it again. The Bryan Toporek coming up in 20 minutes. Bryan Toporek from the NBA podcast and also contributor for Forbes Sports and Liberty Ballers. Have the Sixers started turning it around? Should we start believing and caring about the Sixers again as we get closer and closer to that Christmas Day game for them? Well, that's at the Bryan Toporek coming up next, as well as more of your texts, 609-403-0973.
Happy holidays to all of our listeners.
Ho, ho, ho! I downloaded the app. Now I take my favorite station all over the world.
Merry Christmas.
Ho, ho, ho! Merry Christmas!
From 97.3 ESPN.
Go to get your game on at the Gallery Bar Booking Games in Ocean Casino Resort this football season. Cheers your favorite drinks while cheering on your favorite team. Get in on the parlay while in the middle of a party. Go for the sports scene and go for the endless screens. Go to the gallery. Go to Ocean. Go for the win. For more information, visit theoceanac.com. Must be 21 or older to wager or consume alcohol. Gambling problem? Call 1-800-GAMBLER.
At the Home Depot, we have plenty of Christmas trees to make your holidays even more magical. Hundreds of full, easy-to-assemble artificial trees that look so real, you may be convinced they actually are. And for those who love that fresh pine smell, we have a parking lot full of fresh-cut trees to call your own. We'll even help you load your tree in the car so you can bring home the holidays. The Home Depot, how doers get more done.
More residents are getting quality, affordable health coverage through Get Covered New Jersey. 9 in 10 enrolling get financial help, and many pay $10 a month or less. Open enrollment is here. If you need health insurance, now is the time to enroll. Find your plan at getcovered.nj.gov.
Nacho fries are back at Taco Bell. You know, the fries covered in bold Mexican spices you dip in a warm nacho cheese sauce. You can also dunk them in nacho cheese sauce or pour the sauce onto a pile of them and create like a nacho fries nachos. The thing is that you eat them with nacho cheese sauce. That's what makes them nacho fries. Otherwise, you're just eating fries and sipping on nacho cheese sauce, and that's the wrong way. Sorry, just really passionate about nacho fries.
Nacho fries are back, only at Taco Bell. At participating U.S. Taco Bell locations for a limited time only while supplies last. Contact local store for hours and participation which vary.
Up at the dealership, people pause. Out comes good old trade-in clause. The perfect time of year to upgrade your ride. Trade in your car while the values are high.
Bring any trade to Matt Blatt Kia and drive home in a brand new Kia, even with 0 down and 0% APR financing for 36 months. Don't see your new Kia on the lot today? That doesn't mean you can't drive it home tomorrow with peace of mind. Matt Blatt Kia's exclusive 4-day love it or leave it return policy. So if you have a job clearing $350 per week at Matt Blatt Kia, you're virtually approved. So why pay more when you can pay 0% with 0 down?
Ho, ho, ho. Boys, we're going to Matt Blatt Kia.
It's gotta be a Matt Blatt Kia.
Qualifications exist with approved credit. $27.78 per thousand financed on in-stock 2023 Sorrento Hybrid. Not all will qualify. Go to mattblattkianj.com for complete details or 888-506-4132. Price includes all costs to be paid by consumer, except for licensing, registration, and taxes. Expires 12/31/22. Matt Blatt Kia, 6211 Black Horse Pike, Egg Harbor Township, and now on Route 37 and Toms River.
I wanted to know why some people who get COVID-19 get it so bad. I found out it may be because they have a high risk factor, such as heart disease, diabetes, being overweight, smoking, and asthma. Even if symptoms feel mild, these factors can increase your risk of COVID-19 turning severe. So if you're at high risk and test positive, there are things you can do. like asking your healthcare provider if an authorized oral treatment is right for you. Learn about an option at treatcovid19.com. This message is sponsored by Pfizer.
Are you having a difficult time finding the right gift? Give them the gift of golf. The South Jersey Golf Card from Town Square Media is a $500 value. 7 rounds of golf with the area's best golf clubs for only $149. Your loved one will thank you for the opportunity to play Vineyard National at Renault, Rancocas Golf Club, Rock Manor Golf Club, and many others. Plus indoors at Shore Sim Golf, the ultimate virtual experience with relaxing Key West-style themed bays. Buy it today at seizethedeal.com.
Powered by NJM. No jingles or mascots, just great insurance. This is the Town Square, New Jersey Info and Weather Network.
I'm Josh Hennig with your South Jersey Sports Center. Goaltender Carter Hart had 48 saves to lead the Flyers to a 2-1 victory over the New Jersey Devils on Thursday night, wrapping up their 4-game road trip. The Orange and Black return to home ice Saturday night when they face off with the New York Rangers. You can hear the Flyers tomorrow night on our sister station, Rock 104.1. The 76ers are back in action tonight, looking for their 6th straight home win when they host the Golden State Warriors, who will be playing without Stephen Curry. Listen to Tom McGinnis calling all the action starting at 7:30 p.m. on 97.3 ESPN. The Eagles only have 4 games left this season before the start of the NFL playoffs, and they will be in Chicago this Sunday to take on the Bears. Listen to Merrill Reese and Mike Quick call all the action here on your home for Eagles football in South Jersey, 97.3 ESPN. Kickoff at 1 p.m. Get more Eagles, Sixers, Phillies, and Flyers on our app. Your forecast is next.
You finally got that new car, so you called your insurance company.
Your call is important to us. Please hold.
We are the tippy top, we're top insurance. You ended that call with their jingle stuck in your head. Then you called NJM.
Thanks for calling NJM Insurance. This is Claudia. Let's see if we can save you up to 25% on your auto insurance.
No jingles or mascots, just great insurance. Visit NJM.com for a quote.
From the Town Square, New Jersey Info and Weather Network, I'm Chief Meteorologist Dan Zarrow. Diving into the weekend with a stretch of dry and quiet, although chilly weather that'll carry through the first half of next week, too. Skies clearing tonight as the wind continues to die down. We'll see a low temperature of 34 tomorrow morning. Decent December day tomorrow, mostly sunny and dry with only a light breeze, high of 44. A bit colder on Sunday, high of 40. Under partly sunny skies, increasing clouds 42 Monday. Get weather 24/7 wherever you are. Download our free mobile app today.
If you're struggling with addiction, medication that can support recovery may be the right option for you. Call 844-REACH-NJ now to learn more and start your recovery journey.
Now, back to the Sports Bash on 97.3 ESPN.
Sports Bash on 97.3 ESPN being brought to you by the Gallery Bar Booking Games and Ocean Casino Resort. Cheers your favorite drinks while cheering on your favorite team. Go to the Gallery in Ocean Casino Resort and go for the win. For more information, go to oceanac.com. Must be 21 or to play. Gambling problem, call 1-800-GAMBLER. This Monday, Mike Gill will be back there with Ryan Rothstein as they will give you the Eagles recap of the weekend and first day of Dallas week. As I said before the break, I believe the Eagles, they want to get out to a big lead on Sunday because they want to make sure that they have a lead so they can get guys to rest. It's a short week, Sunday to Saturday. I think they want as many guys healthy and fresh as possible for that game against Dallas because I think that they realize that, look, the goal is to win this Sunday. But once you know the win is in hand, it's time to start pulling guys. Like they did the Giants game. You know, they were basically the second teamers out there pretty much the entire fourth quarter, it felt like. So, you know, I think they're going to do the same thing this week. And we already saw that Dallas, you know, they had trouble beating the Texans. Cowboys got their own problems to deal with. You got to worry what's out in front of you. Look, if they struggled against the Texans at home last week, is Dallas going to have trouble with Jacksonville this Sunday? You know, I was going through the playoff simulators. If the Cowboys don't win the game at Jacksonville this week and the Jags win, there's a path for the Jags to win their division and go to the playoffs instead of the Tennessee Titans. Think about how crazy that is. There is a real possibility that the Jags, if it starts to Sunday, so they have something to play for. The Jaguars are not going to go into this Dallas Cowboys game just to roll over and let them do whatever. So for the Eagles, you got to take care of your business. And listen, if Dallas loses their game, you got a leg up. If Dallas doesn't lose their game, well, it is what it is. You still got to play them the next week. But as I said, I think the goal for the Eagles is hit the accelerator, do whatever it takes to get a big lead, and get everybody out of the game. I think it's a very simple formula. And whether it's passing or running the ball, I don't think it matters. Look, the Bears' run defense is trash. Their pass defense is statistically good, but as Adam said, it's statistically good because of the fact that who they have played has said, look, we can run the ball on these guys. Why do we have to pass it on them? You know, that's I think the biggest variable to me between the Eagles and the Cowboys. The Cowboys are a team that doesn't seem to always be focused. They seem to be more susceptible to the prototypical trap game. And it gets back to the coaching conversation. We had the last 2 hours here on the Sports Bash. Josh Hennig filling in for Mike Gill at Happy Hour Friday on 97.3 ESPN. Part of the reason why we are looking at Sirianni in the positive light that we are is because his team is staying focused and getting the job done the last few weeks, while the Dallas Cowboys struggled to beat the Texans. For 3 quarters, it was a close game with the Colts, and then the Colts basically imploded and the Cowboys took full advantage. And then the Cowboys barely beat the Giants after dominating the Vikings, and the week before losing in overtime to the Packers. It's been an up and down roller coaster ride for these Dallas Cowboys. Meanwhile, the Eagles, since they lost to Washington, you had the Colts game that was a hard-fought game, rock fight. But since then, it's been 3 big scoring nights. 40 against Green Bay, 35 against Tennessee, 48 against the Giants. What are the last 3 been for the Cowboys? 27 against Texans, 54 thanks to that embarrassing fourth quarter against the Colts, and just 28 against the Giants. It sounds like to me that one team is focused and the other team is not. Now, that could change this weekend. There's certainly a possibility that the Eagles get off the bus and they sleepwalk a little bit to start the game, and the Dallas Cowboys get out to a big lead against Jacksonville. But I just don't see a scenario where the Eagles lose this game on Sunday. I think it's more likely that Dallas loses their game than the Eagles lose their game. It's just, what is it going to look like at the end of the game? You know, when we're sitting around watching that game, how are we feeling about it? To me, that's the difference. You know, when I'm with Billy Schwein this Sunday in the locker room, live from yesterday's Creekside Tavern in Marmora, when I'm sitting there talking about the Eagles game, and when I watch the game afterward, are we all sitting around, looking around and be like, man, they got 250 rushing yards? Or are we saying, man, Jalen Hurts got 350 passing yards, and they sat him for the rest of the game? And that's the other side of the coin. We mentioned it in the last hour. The MVP debate is going to come down to the final 4 weeks of the season. And Jalen Hurts and the Eagles, if they win the next 2 games, it's cruise control. And I'm not saying that to be mean. I'm just saying it to be real. You take care of the Bears as you're supposed to, and you knock the Cowboys out of division contention, you have a pathway to just get to the finish line in the most simple manner possible. Eagles do their job. They're in. The problem is that The Cowboys are a really good football team. They're arguably one of the 3 best teams in the NFC, if not one of the 2 best teams, depending on who you ask. And for the Cowboys, after the Eagles, their schedule is interesting, I'll call it. Because the Cowboys' schedule after the Eagles, I wouldn't call it easy. They play the Eagles on Saturday. Then they play on Thursday Night Football against the Titans in Tennessee. And then on January 8th, they have to travel to Washington to play the Commanders. The Eagles have a much easier last 2 games. Saints and Giants. It's a lot easier, is it not? So for the Cowboys and the Eagles, all the cards are on the table. And we're going to see who calls each other's bluff first. Sports Bash here on 97.3 ESPN FM, 97.3 ESPN mobile app powered by First Bank of Seattle City. The 76ers play tonight. Tom McGarry on the call to take on the Warriors here on 97.3 ESPN. Coverage begins at 7:30. As you wait for Eagles Sunday, the Sixers are on tonight. I asked earlier how many people actually care. Well, one texter shot a message and says, I care, go Sixers. And he sent me a screenshot. He has a 2-team parlay, UAB, who just won their bowl game this afternoon. And the Sixers and the payout's a nice little payout. I'll just put it that way. So at least one person's going to be watching very intently tonight, that's for sure. Have the Sixers turned it around? They're going for their 6th straight home win tonight. Plus, Bryan Toporek, co-host of the NBA podcast, contributor for Liberty Ballers, next here on 97.3 ESPN. Josh Hennig hanging out with you on a happy hour Friday.
Our love for sports is what makes us different from any other station in South Jersey.
Oh, yeah!
Number 1 for live sports and sports talk. 97.3 ESPN and the 97.3 ESPN free mobile app.
I remember the day you were born. I can't believe all you've accomplished and how amazing you are. And I can't believe this is goodbye. Mr. Phillips, it's time.
Impaired driving can cost you a lot. For others, it can cost everything. Don't drive impaired. From the New Jersey Division of Highway Traffic Safety.
At the Home Depot, we have plenty of Christmas trees to make your holidays even more magical. Hundreds of full, easy-to-assemble artificial trees that look so real, you may be convinced they actually are. And for those who love that fresh pine smell, we have a parking lot full of fresh-cut trees to call your own. We'll even help you load your tree in the car so you can bring home the holidays. The Home Depot, how doers get more done.
When it comes to wings in the Delaware Valley, nobody beats the Piccalilli Inn. Whether it's South Jersey's best wings, tails, or ears, let them know you're sauce champion. All 10 delectable flavors are going head-to-head to battle for number 1. When it's game day, you just gotta head to the Pick. Visit them on Facebook or at piccalilli.com for their Pick game specials. And be sure to pre-order to guarantee your spot in Sunday's lineup. Nobody beats the Piccalilli Inn. Visit the one, the only, the original Piccalilli Inn, Route 206 in Chemong.
Ray Magliozzi here for eBay Motors. Okay, easy now. You're teaching your kid how to parallel park. Ouch! Turns out he likes to do it by feel. Don't worry, eBay Motors has bumpers, taillights, trunk lids, license plate holders, 122 million parts. Pull up just a little bit. And headlights. They've got lots of headlights. Get the right parts at the right prices. eBay Motors. Let's ride.
Hey, Pete, how's business? It's great. Foot traffic's still way down, but more people are finding me online. Nice. How'd you pull that off? Well, the first thing I did was go to mylocalcustomers.com to see exactly how many searches there were for businesses like mine. So I guess there were a lot? Yeah, there were hundreds of local searches every month. So after I saw that, they helped me position my business online to get in front of those customers. That's awesome. I wonder how many people are searching for my services around here. Well, it's quick and easy to get the answer. Plus, it's free. Just go to mylocalcustomers.com to find out. If there are a lot of searches, you should definitely get in front of them. If there aren't, no harm, no foul.
Go to mylocalcustomers.com for a free local customer analysis that will show you how many customers are searching online for your type of business. It's quick, easy, and free. Visit mylocalcustomers.com. That's mylocalcustomers.com.
Welcome to America, the land of junk sleep, where it's bedtime, but you're double booked. Here, there's always one more deadline to meet, episode to watch, or meme to share. The world may not want you to sleep, but we do. Only the sleep experts at Mattress Firm can help you find the right bed at the right price. Unjunk your sleep. In-store or online at mattressfirm.com today.
Did you know that feeling sluggish or weighed down could be signs that your digestive system isn't working at its best? But taking Metamucil every day can help. Metamucil supports your daily digestive health using a special plant-based fiber called psyllium. Psyllium works by forming a gel in your digestive system to trap and remove the waste that weighs you down. Metamucil's gelling action also helps to promote heart health and slows down sugar absorption to promote healthy blood sugar levels. Start feeling lighter and more energetic by taking Metamucil every day.
'Twas the month of December, and all through the lot, people were shouting about the offers they got.
I got more for my trade.
These are the best prices in town.
They bailed me out of my loan. I was upside down.
If you're worried about credit, stop. Just apply, because the staff at Matt Platt Mitsubishi wants to see you in a new ride. Ho, ho, ho. So if you have a job clearing $350 per week at Matt Platt Mitsubishi, you're virtually approved. Plus, every new Mitsubishi Outlander SUV puts 0 down and 0% APR financing for 36 months. Worried that your credit will keep you from getting a new ride? Matt Platt Mitsubishi wants to finance your future, not your past. Simply Matt Platt Mitsubishi. Requalifications exist. Not all will qualify. $27.78 per thousand finance not approved with Tier 1 credit. Rebates and incentives to dealer. Or call 844-946-2315 for complete details. Plus tax, license, registration fees. Offers can't be combined. Expires 12/31/22. So come in today and get your deal your way. Located right in the heart of Glassboro for over 30 years.
Now, back to more Sports Bash with Mike Gill on 97.3 ESPN, South Jersey's sports leader.
Josh Hennig filling in for Mike Gill here on the Sports Bash on 97.3 ESPN. Of course, this hour of the Sports Bash being brought to you by East Coast Roofing, Siding, and Windows, serving all of South Jersey. If you call, they'll show up. Visit them online at eastcoastroofing.com. Sixers back in action tonight, trying to extend their home winning streak against the Warriors. No Steph Curry tonight. He will be out a quote-unquote few weeks. Read into that what you will. That open-ended diagnosis reporting by certain members of the media out there. So we're going to get more into Sixers now in the NBA. You've heard him a bunch of times with me on game night, and he agreed to join me a little bit earlier today. Bryan Toporek, he's the co-host of the NBA podcast. He's also a contributor for Liberty Ballers and for Forbes Sports. Bryan, welcome back in. How you doing today?
I'm doing well, Josh. Thanks for having me. Happy holidays.
Happy holidays, Merry Christmas, Hanukkah, and whatever else I'm not forgetting. So, so I asked the question before you came on. I'll ask you directly, Bryan. Sixers are going for their 6th straight home win. Have they turned a corner? Should Sixer fans care? Are we still in wait-and-see mode? What do we do with the Sixers?
I mean, honestly, I cover the team, and I'm still in wait-and-see mode. I'm still, it's Eagles season. It can be Sixers season after February, but right now we'll keep our attention focused on the team that I think has a better chance of winning this year. The Sixers, it's just hard to get a read on them because they've been so ravaged by injuries for the first third of this season. James Harden missed 14 games. Tyrese Maxey has been out for the last few weeks. He's not coming back for another couple weeks. Joel Embiid's been in and out of the lineup as well. Harden and the Sixers played really well on Tuesday night against Sacramento. I don't think we're going to learn a ton tonight against a Warriors team. It's without not only Stephen Curry, but now Draymond Green and Andrew Wiggins as well. So, barring a catastrophic collapse here, they should be able to take care of business pretty easily tonight. They faced a pretty tough schedule to start the year, and the combination of that and the injuries, set them up for what they've gone through. But despite all of that, right now, they're sitting 5th in the East, so they're not too far behind where we thought they would be going into the season. It was just a little bumpier than we expected to get here.
Now, you mentioned how bumpy it is to get here. Obviously, last month was really rough for a lot of people. And they won games without Embiid and Harden, but they lost games with Embiid and or Harden, right? And, you know, how Sixer fans are. The immediate thing is fire Doc Rivers, right? So what is your assessment of Doc Rivers as of December 16th? Like, what is your perspective on him? Because I feel like everyone says fire the coach, but they don't actually know what they're, they're actually not watching the game half the time. So how much of the Sixers this year has been Doc? How much of it is the injuries? How much of it is the players not playing up to expectations?
Yeah, I mean, I think the Phillies really skewed the mindset of like, oh, well, they just fire the coach and then they're going to go to the finals. It's that easy. Right. Why doesn't every team do it? The Phillies were the outlier in that scenario. I don't know that there's a coach out there, that you fire Doc and you hire this person, all of a sudden the Sixers are going to go, 50-10 or whatever it is for the rest of the season. I don't think the solution is necessarily that easy. I think the injuries are obviously the biggest part of it. Also, Embiid got off to a slow start this season because of the plantar fasciitis that he was dealing with. He has now very clearly gotten back into his MVP form as of late. So that has certainly helped. Harden was really rusty that first game back, but he's starting to look better as well. So we'll see. We still haven't really seen this team at full strength all that much, which makes it difficult to really evaluate them and their championship upside. I think Doc, at this point, there are just some things you have to live with. Like his rotation patterns are going to be inconsistent from a game-to-game basis. There is no clear, obvious rhyme or reason as to which backup center he's going to roll with on a given night. I know a lot of Sixers fans want Paul Reed to be that guy, but Montrezl Harrell is still hanging around. And to Montrezl's credit, he often plays well when he gets that chance. I think the concern is we've seen this story play out in the regular season with Doc and with Montrez in particular, where, for everything that Montrez brings to the table in the playoffs, he's somewhat of a defensive liability, and teams begin to really focus on that and target that more than they can throughout the regular season when you're not necessarily game planning for a specific opponent on a night-to-night basis. So, like Paul Reed, I think would be the more viable option in the playoffs, but it's a long season. You got to get to the playoffs and you got to get to the playoffs in one piece. So, I understand the frustrations with Doc, but at the same time, I think he deserves a ton of credit for getting them through. You look at the Warriors right now without Steph and everyone's like, oh, they're about to start tanking for Wemby. And, the Sixers without all three of their top three players still somehow stayed afloat. So I think that's actually a testament. Like, despite being as shorthanded as they were, Doc really got them through a very rough stretch, and they came out relatively unscathed.
By the way, if those out there who are wondering, Bryan's referring to Victor Wembanyama. That's who he's talking about. He wasn't referring to Bryan Windhorst's nickname Windy there. So
no. Yes, the number one pick the presumptive number one pick in the 2023.
Because you mentioned that people are like, oh, Eagles, Phillies, Eagles. There's probably people out there who actually don't know who Victor Wembanyama is yet.
Yes.
We gotta realize that because he's playing on like NBA TV at like 4 o'clock in the afternoon.
That's right. Yeah. If you're not familiar with him, familiarize yourself with him, because he is very likely to be the number one pick in the draft, and he is coming with, like once in a generation hype. I mean, they're like, not since LeBron has someone been this hyped coming into the NBA, I think.
I mean, if I've only seen one game of his play, and that's because he actually happened to play when I wasn't like actually working in the studio.
Right.
And it's almost like watching like Giannis and Durant if they had a baby or something.
Yeah, and Gobert too. I mean, he's like taller than Gobert, and he could shoot like Durant, and he's it's just, it doesn't make sense. He's an NBA 2K creative player, basically.
Yeah. And then the only thing you worry about is what team drafts him at that point. So
right. Yeah. I mean, I even if he gets hurt, God forbid, I don't see a scenario where he doesn't go number one. Like, he's just that the upside is just that high. You have to take the risk.
Bryan Toporek joining us here on the Sports Bash. Josh Hennig filling for Mike Gill on 97.3 ESPN at Toporek on Twitter. You mentioned about the fact that they're not a whole team right now, the 76ers. Yeah. Is it fair to say that the Sixers are maybe getting the issues out of the way early? Like last year, the Celtics were a slop mess for about 2 months. And then January to June come around, and they were like the hottest team on planet Earth. Like, I'm not saying the Sixers are going to do that, but it's not far-fetched to say that when Maxey does come back, they could maybe ride away for a few months, right?
No, it's not at all. I think figuring out the distribution of touches between the stars is still kind of the biggest question mark hanging over this team, and we won't get a good answer to that until Maxey comes back. But I think the good thing, the one silver lining about these injuries is that it did allow some of the other complementary guys to really strut their stuff in a more featured role. So a DeAnthony Melton, who, was coming off the bench to start the year and was one of their big offseason pickups, but wasn't likely to play more than, 20, 25 minutes a game at full strength. Now we've seen him play alongside the starters more often than not. And we've seen this guy is really indispensable to this team. There's a real argument that, you could feasibly start him on certain nights, or maybe he should be starting over PJ Tucker, for instance, or, closing over Maxey or Harden if, that the defensive backcourt issues between the two of them really start to pop up on any given night. Like DeAnthony Melton should be in there, and Shake Milton too, was not playing really at all at the start of the year. And then now we see him with Harden and Maxey out. He goes off and, really helps anchor the team. So now he has really firmed up his spot in the rotation. So I think that helped at least give them a better pecking order of we know who the starters are going to be, at least, barring any changes. It's still going to be Maxey, Harden, Tobias, Tucker, Embiid. But now Melton is clear, sixth man, no questions asked. George Niang's been playing very well when he's been healthy, so he's clearly in the rotation. Shake Milton, I think, has to be. I don't see a way that I think they need his ball handling. They need his scoring touch. He's got to be in there too. So then it's a matter of, you're going to have one of at least Reed or Montrez as the ninth man. And then, Matisse Thybulle is going to be on the fringe of the rotation at times. Furkan Korkmaz is going to be in the fringe of the rotation at times. It's they still have some of that stuff to figure out, but the big question still, and we'll get there once Maxey is healthy, is, how do they balance Embiid's, just overwhelming dominance with, Harden still needs his shots, Tobias still needs his shots, Maxey still needs his shots. We'll see how that plays out.
And part of the reason why I also mentioned the Celtics is because last year the Celtics were a mess for 2 months. This year, they might be the best team in the NBA the first couple months into the season. It's the most ridiculous thing in the world. And the whole thing was, for those who don't remember, Ime Udoka is not there anymore. Joe Mazzulla is there now. They get rid of the coach who got them to the NBA Finals, and it's nope, doesn't matter. Malcolm Brogdon, come on in and have a party.
And they haven't even had Robert Williams. He's going to make his season debut tonight. They're starting.
Robert Williams has been sitting on my IR in fantasy basketball since day one.
Yeah, and now he's coming back, and he was, the kind of the key to their turnaround, their midseason turnaround last year. I think they had the league's best defense once they started turning that around over the final 3 months of the regular season. So it's scary to think that this isn't even the full-fledged version of the Celtics. But frankly, you could say the same about the Milwaukee Bucks, who just recently got Chris Middleton back. I saw Woj tweet earlier that Joe Ingles, their big offseason signing, he's getting ready to make his debut Monday. So, going into the season, I think a lot of people had Boston, Milwaukee, and Philly as the top three teams in the East. I think, unfortunately, Boston and Milwaukee have gained some separation over the rest of the pack. And I would put, Philly's in that next tier with Cleveland, with Brooklyn, I would say. And then, some of the other teams that we thought might be in there, Atlanta, Miami, Toronto, they're still kind of scrapping it out for who's next up, who's one of the biggest challengers for Cleveland and Philly.
That's the final thing I'll ask you before I let you go. Brian, we got about a minute left. Brooklyn, are they just cursed? Are they going to figure this out? Like, what's their deal?
I mean, they kind of have started to figure it out. They're fourth in the East. They're 8-2 in their last 10. They're, playing pretty well, all things considered. And heck, I mean, they beat the Pacers the other night playing. I think they sat 8 players and got fined for it. They still ended up winning that game. So I think, with all of the early season drama that encircled this team, and really off-season drama as well, with KD's trade requests and Kyrie maybe asking for sign-in trade and then rescinding on that and picking up his player option, all this nonsense. I don't know what the long-term future holds for this team, because Kyrie is a free agent after this year, and if he goes, who knows what Durant's going to want to do. Ben Simmons has been in and out of the lineup with knee issues for most of the season, but I think the results speak for themselves lately. They really have started to hit their stride.
He's Bryan Toporek at @Toporek on Twitter, the NBA podcast. He is the co-host, and he also writes about the Sixers for Liberty Ballers and the NBA for Forbes Sports. Brian, appreciate you jumping on. Enjoy the weekend. And as previously, I have also the audience. We will talk next week.
Yes, that sounds good. Thanks for having me, Josh.
Always great stuff with Bryan Toporek here with me on 97.3 ESPN. Usually comes on with me on game night, but I'm filling in for Mike Gill today, who's kind enough to join me a couple hours earlier. Still to come here on the Sports Bash. One thought, every game, Casey Joyner from The Athletic joins me coming up on the other side. We'll get into the full slate of NFL. We'll get his thoughts on the 49ers defense, the Dallas Cowboys, Eagles, and more here on 97.3 ESPN. 97.3 ESPN. Mobile app powered by First Bank of Seattle City. Happy Hour Friday. Josh Hennig hanging out with you till 6.
It's Sixers basketball tonight on 97.3 ESPN with the voice of the 76ers, Tom McGinnis, calling all the exciting play-by-play action.
Final for three is good. Timeout, Warriors. 20,000 plus are on their feet.
The Sixers host the Golden State Warriors. Tonight, coverage begins at 7:30. Philadelphia 76ers basketball on your radio home of the Sixers in South Jersey, 97.3 ESPN.
Matt Platt Nissan is now open on the Black Horse Pike in Egg Harbor Township, next to Home Depot. Get out of that old car, truck, or SUV and into a brand new Nissan. The all-new Matt Platt Nissan on the Black Horse Pike in Egg Harbor Township, or visit us online, mattplattnissan.com.
Let me guess. Unknown caller? You could reduce the number of unwanted calls and emails with online privacy protection. The latest innovation from Discover. We'll help regularly remove your personal info, like your name and address, from 10 popular people search websites that could sell your data. And we'll do it for free. Activate in the Discover app. See terms and learn more at discover.com/online privacy protection.
I always wanted to learn Spanish, but I never thought I'd have the time. Then I discovered Babbel.
Babbel's lessons are fun. They only take like 10 or 15 minutes, and in 3 weeks, presto, you're starting to speak another language, like magic.
I love that Babbel's lessons aren't just robots talking. They're voiced by native speakers, so you get the pronunciation just right.
If you want to learn a language, there's no faster, easier, better way than
Babbel.
Babbel.
Babbel. Go to Babbel.com to try for free. That's BABBEL.com. Babbel.com.
Hear ye, hear ye. Thanks for coming to the town square. First, I'd like to tell you about Steve. He's a plumber. I hear he does good work. Also, Tim. He's this new thing called a dentist. Oh, and Monica, she has a new vegan restaurant. I didn't even know that was a thing yet. Anyway, if you need those things, just wander around town and try to find them, because the internet hasn't been invented yet, so I don't know.
This isn't the olden days. Now, word of mouth has gone online. At Town Square, South Jersey, we can show you how to harness the power of your existing word of mouth and amplify it online. Go to townsquarelocal.com for a free local customer analysis, where you can see how many local customers in South Jersey you could reach online. Visit townsquarelocal.com and be the Town Square today. That's townsquarelocal.com.
At the Home Depot, we have plenty of Christmas trees to make your holidays even more magical. Hundreds of full, easy-to-assemble artificial trees that look so real, you may be convinced they actually are. And for those who love that fresh pine smell, we have a parking lot full of fresh-cut trees to call your own. We'll even help you load your tree in the car so you can bring home the holidays. The Home Depot, how doers get more done.
Welcome to a late night edition of What If, the show where I, Jake from State Farm, answer your insurance what ifs. We've got Sean on the line. What's up?
Hey, Jake, what if I'm too stressed about my coverage to sleep? Like, what if I don't have enough? Or what if I need to change it?
Oh, if you can't sleep, just give us a ring. We're available 24/7. At State Farm, we're there for your what ifs.
Oh, great. What if I just take a little nap?
Like a good neighbor, State Farm is there. Call or go to statefarm.com for a quote today.
Make this a holiday to treasure with 50% off everything at your nearest Banana Republic factory store. Discover inspired gifts big and small for everyone on your list, starting at $24.99, only at Banana Republic Factory.
With GMF financing, to qualify buyers excludes Corvette.
It may be cold outside, but the deals are smoking at Bennett Chevrolet. It's a red-hot clear-the-lot year-end sale. While they last, everybody gets GM supplier employee pricing on new Chevys. That's right, everybody pays what our supplier employees pay and not a penny more. Even when other dealers are selling for thousands over sticker, Bennett is selling at GM supplier employee prices. But hurry, this incredible deal is on new Chevys and they will sell out fast. Save even more with rates as low as 3.99%. And every pre-owned's on sale too. This may sound unbelievable, but Bennett's paying a minimum $10,000 for the worst clunkers towards any pre-owned in stock. Yes, a minimum 10 grand for total. Imagine how much you'll get for a trade that actually runs. And our non-commissioned sales team is paid not on how much you spend, but on your satisfaction. So you know you will be satisfied. Find new roads at Bennett Chevy, Egg Harbor Township, and BennettChevy.com.
When you hear this,
They've got him again!
and this,
He scored!
and this,
Oh boy, what a move by Embiid!
you think of us. We are sports. 97.3 ESPN, WENJ, WENJ HD, Millville, Atlantic City, a town square media station. This is the Sports Bash with Mike Gill on 97.3 ESPN. Now, live inside the Matt Black Kia Studios, here's Mike Gill.
Josh Hennig filling for Mike Gill on a happy hour Friday here on 97.3 ESPN FM, 97.3 ESPN mobile app. After last night's Thursday football game, what do we do with the 49ers? We'll ask Casey Joyner, the football scientist, as well as get one thought on every game coming up this weekend. Saturday and Sunday games is the NFL. And, of course, Friday's appearance of Casey Joyner on the Sports Bash being brought to you by Cape Regional Health System. For a healthier life, call 609-463-CAPE. Cape Regional Health System is proud to bring you Casey Joyner here on the Sports Bash. You're on 97.3 ESPN. Casey, how are you doing on this Friday?
Pretty good. I imagine you're doing pretty well, though. According to our league, you have you increased your chances of beating Mike in our fantasy league for this weekend. Last night was a good night for you, Kenneth Walker. Struggling.
Yeah, that was a little unexpected. Or was it, though? Because last night, the 49ers went into that game. They were the only team that not had allowed 200 points this year going into last night, and they did not disappoint. I could argue, Casey, the San Francisco defense was the reason they won the game.
Yeah, everybody talks about Kyle Shanahan's offense. And mind you, hey, when you've got Christian McCaffrey and George Kittle the way he was playing, and Sammy when he's healthy, and Ayuk, and even the rotation at quarterback, sure, that's a great thing to talk about. But that defensive coordinator position in San Francisco looks like it's now going to be a launching point for good head coaches, because Robert Saleh is obviously doing a very good job in New York. And I think D'Amico Ryans is going to be getting some job offers after the season too. But that defense is just brutal. They until late in the game when Seattle kicked the field goals, until they scored a touchdown that very last drive, they'd had 16 drives against San Francisco and had 2 field goals out of it. It's insane about how San Francisco's just dominated Seattle's offense this year.
You could also argue that after last night's game, one thing that stood out to me was, Casey, I was shocked to see how many 49er fans were in Seattle. There was way more red jerseys in that building than I expected. And all I could think of was, what happened to the home field advantage that was Seattle? That used to be a place people feared going to now. And last night, San Francisco looked like they just looked Seattle dead in the eye and said, "You blink, not us."
Yeah. And the 12s, I mean, I've been to that stadium before. It is some stadiums you wonder if they pump in crowd noise and things. They don't do that there. They don't need to. That place just holds in the noise the way that it's framed. It's like walking Everest to get up to the top of that stadium. But yeah, I mean, the Seattle fans didn't show up as much, and the San Francisco fans showed. It says something good for the faithful, and I think it says something for Seattle fans that after what happened with Wilson and that whole situation there, they might be a little disillusioned with the team for the of just because of sour taste from that. But I mean, San Francisco, give them credit for showing up, because those fans, they earned that nickname faithful.
Before we get into the Eagles game, I want to ask you, do you think Seattle can make the playoffs still?
Very, very, very tough. If Washington, according to the New York Times estimates, they have a playoff estimator. If Washington wins next week, they have a 93% chance of making the playoffs. Okay, so there's that. That's basically, you're talking, all right, you're probably going to have, because Dallas is probably going to make the playoffs too. Now you've got the 4 division winners, and you've got Washington and Dallas. That leaves only one spot left. Yeah, Detroit could pass them this weekend. You're still going to have, if let's say the Giants lose, there's still going to be a half game ahead. It's very difficult. I think they've got maybe a 1 in 4 chance of making the playoffs, because they're just going to run the tail. Plus, they got to play at Kansas City next week. If they lose that game, it really crushes their chances.
I mean, it was a feel-good story for a lot of weeks, and it felt like the 49ers just went to Seattle and just, took the air out of the balloon last night in that game. Casey, let's get to the Eagles where we get to the rest of the schedule. Chase Claypool ruled out for the Bears. The Bears got guys just dropping, and they're starting N'Keal Harry out there, hoping he gives them something, for goodness sake. We were talking about in the last hour about how lacking of talent this Chicago roster is. Casey, talk to the audience who has not watched the Bears this year about the Bears.
Well, I mean, you got Justin Fields, so you've got that talent there, and you do have Montgomery, who's very good. So they do have running game talent. They're fine. The passing game talent, yeah, they're not that good. Although, having said that, if the Eagles come into this contest, they do need to be thinking about, because they've had some, not necessarily trouble of late, but they've allowed, over the past 4 weeks, the Eagles have allowed 17 to 22 passes to be completed at tight ends for 172 yards at a high completion rate. Cole Kmet could also be somebody they could look up for. So, but beyond that, if you're looking at the Eagles, they can say, hey, we've got cornerbacks who can shut down these receivers. Even if Claypool was playing, he's just learning the offense. He wouldn't have been that big of a threat anyway. They should be able to shut down those receivers and make, I don't want to say you can make the Bears one-dimensional, because I think when you've got Fields doing what he can do, you are going to have to be concerned about, if you come too hard against the run, he will be able to hit some passes downfield if you overplay it. But yeah, it's going to be, you got to stop the ground game in this one.
Speaking of the ground game, the Bears defense has been sliced and diced the last few weeks. We know the Eagles like to pass the ball, but is this a game where the Eagles just say, you know what, we got to get in here, get the win, and get out? Why don't we just run the ball and tell them, you see if you can stop us?
You could do that, except that you've got, mind you, they can run the ball at will. Chicago's 27th in fantasy points allowed on rushing plays over the past 4 weeks. But when you look at the coverage for the Bears, I mean, you can't ignore, you went up against Kendall Vildor, who's one of their cornerbacks. So the last 4 weeks, he's only played in 2 games, but still he's allowed 4 completions in 6 targets, or 86 yards. That's 14.3 yards per target, 21.5 yards per completion, 2 touchdowns. A.J. Brown probably gets him. That's going to be a very favorable matchup. Jalen Johnson could be a more favorable matchup for Chicago against Devontae, but Johnson's also been up and down this year. They've got some weaknesses as well. They give up a lot of vertical points. They're 24th in the league in fantasy points allowed on vertical passes the last 4 weeks. So I think Eagles can just do whatever they want, because they should be. I think they could easily score 30 points in this contest.
Now, if they can easily score 30 points, what is the key to not letting Justin Fields make this an interesting game? Because we know he has done that before this season.
If I'm the Eagles, the one thing I worry about, and again, you don't want to overlook an opponent. We saw what happened with Dallas last week, and they overlooked an opponent. But the one thing that Chicago could potentially do is turn this into a shootout game, because the Eagles have allowed 22 or more points in 3 of the last 5 games. So it is something that okay, the Eagles have shown a propensity for getting into that sort of contest. And I mentioned many, many times over the years on the show that when you look at shootout games, usually even for the best offenses in league history, they tend to be 50-50 propositions. Having said that, I keep looking at this and go, okay, if the Eagles can run the ball and pass the ball basically at will against this sieve of a defense, this Swiss cheese defense, and look at the Bears and go, they only can run the ball. They don't have pass options, except for, again, maybe they're going to be able to do some things to Kmet. I would try and focus a little extra coverage on Kmet. If I had to double somebody, he might be the guy to say, I'm going to take that away and things. But when you've got a Justin Fields out there and he can get that kind of thing, if he can get a couple of big plays, and Montgomery can, the Eagles say their run tackling isn't as bad as it was at times earlier this year. You do that against Justin Fields and David Montgomery, they could put up a 30 burger against the Eagles too.
Before the Eagles kick off at 1 o'clock on Sunday, we have 3 games on Saturday, Casey. So let's get the one thought on every game. Don't forget, you hear all 3 games here on 97.3 ESPN. Triple header coverage begins at 12:30 p.m. We will start with the 1 o'clock game tomorrow, Casey. Colts at Vikings. We know the Vikings need to keep winning if they want to keep pace and have any hope of the number 1 seed.
Yeah, this is a game for them, though, too. The Vikings are 10-1 when they score 20 or more points. They're 0-2 when they fall short of that bar. The Colts have allowed 20 or more points in 4 of the last 5 games, and the Colts have scored fewer than 20 points in 6 of the past 7 games. And the Colts have allowed 533 rushing yards over the past 3 games. So I think Minnesota will be able to throw the ball very well with Jefferson, and they'll run the ball out with Cook. I think Minnesota destroys the Colts.
The 4:30 game is a division rivalry game. It's interesting. No Lamar Jackson. Tyler Huntley has been cleared for Baltimore. They got to go to Cleveland for a 4:30 tilt that could determine the AFC North.
It could, and the thing is, I mean, look, they didn't have Jackson last week. The Ravens got 215 rushing yards against the Steelers, and Cleveland's allowed 136 more rushing more rushing yards in 3 of the past 5 games. But Cleveland, I mean, they tallied 360 rushing yards in weeks 12 and 13 against Tampa Bay and Houston. Deshaun Watson's playing better of late. I think they're going to put up at least 20 points. Baltimore has scored more than 16 points only once in the last 4 games. I'm picking Cleveland in this one.
The nightcap in Buffalo with the crazy weather. Josh Allen says the weather is a factor. Tua says the weather isn't a factor. Who's right, Casey? Is the weather going to be a factor? Is Allen right or is Tua right?
Hey, I'm a Florida boy. Believe me, if I had to go up there and face that weather would be a factor. Even though I was born in Michigan, raised in Michigan, it is a factor. Tua is just trying to talk like it's not. Josh Allen, though, hey, his passing production's fallen off since he busted that elbow or had that elbow injury. Their passing offense has not been great. It's been solid, but it hasn't been great for weeks now. So that's a problem for Buffalo. The thing is, Buffalo scored 20-plus points in 5 straight games. Their rushing offense is good. They've rushed for 100 yards in every game this year. I mean, in every single game. That's very rare to see. And Buffalo's defense has much improved. And the Dolphins, if you take away that stretch, they had a 4-game stretch, they scored 30 more points, and they had that 4th quarter explosion against Baltimore. You take those games out of the mix, their offense has been mediocre this year, or maybe a little above average, but it hasn't been great offense at all. So I think Buffalo's got more paths to victory. I'll take the Bills.
And again, all 3 games can be heard tomorrow here on 97.3 ESPN FM. Let's get to Sunday, Casey. Some interesting matchups on Sunday. Atlanta versus New Orleans. I know people are excited about Desmond Ridder, but New Orleans still got some talent on that defense.
They do. I mean, it won't be a big change for Atlanta from a game plan perspective because Ridder ran a lot in college. The guy has rushing ability, and so you can do a lot of the same type of things with that offense that you could with Mariota under center. So that's a one big thing. The Saints, the funny thing is the Saints have one of the best running backs in the league in McNamara, and their rushing attack has been non-existent this year, and Atlanta's run the ball a lot. So I think this is one of the tougher games to pick because I think Atlanta is going to, not going to have that big of adjustment with Ridder in there, but he's still a first-time quarterback. He's going to New Orleans. The Saints can run the ball, or Saints can throw the ball, I should say, with some success at Olave. So I'm taking the Saints, but this is one of the tough games to pick this week.
Jets, Lions, Zach Wilson, he's back under center, Casey. Meanwhile, the Lions are coming in, and they are real. They are alive for the playoffs.
The Jets, as good as we all have a different perception of them now. They've lost 4 of the last 6, including 3 of the last 4. The Lions won 5 of their last 6. If they win, they're tied with Seattle for the 8th seed. So they're not that far away from the playoffs. The thing is, their offense is great. We all know all about they're great offensive players, but their defense, they've allowed fewer than 20 points in 3 of the past 6 games. It's not great. But when you've got an offense that can play that well, you don't have to have a great defense, just have a solid defense. And they have a solid defense right now. And by the way, turnovers, New York has given the ball away twice in 2 straight contests, and the Lions defense has generated 11 takeaways in their past 6 games. I think they win the turnover battle, and they win the game.
By the way, for those who are wondering, the Lions' upcoming schedule after this week at Carolina and home against Chicago. If they can win this game, that path to the postseason looks very interesting. I'm just putting it out there for everybody. Speaking of Carolina, Carolina hosting the Steelers this Sunday. And Casey, nobody knows who's playing quarterback in Pittsburgh.
Yeah, it's okay. Is it Pickett? And if it's not Pickett, Mason Rudolph saying, yeah, there is a quarterback competition. I don't think the Steelers necessarily wanted that out there. So I think he's trying to stir stuff up. It's not a good thing if you're, what did John Madden used to say? He said, if you have more than one quarterback, you don't have a quarterback. And that's not a good thing. Carolina, 4-3 in its last 7, wins in 3 of its last 4. They've generated 160 rushing yards in 5 of the past 7 contests. The Steelers' rush defense has been awful the past 3 weeks, 470 yards allowed in that 3-game span, and they've allowed 361 rushing yards over the past 2 contests. I think Carolina's got enough offensive consistency to score. They've scored 21 more points in 6 of the past 7. The Steelers have only tallied 21 points 3 times this year. So I'm taking Carolina.
Dallas travels to Jacksonville. Can Doug Peterson do the Eagles a favor and take out Dallas?
I would have thought this could be a trap game if Dallas hadn't had a trap game last week. After they had that trap game last week, I don't think Dallas is going to look at the situation and say, hey, we're going to overlook this team, because I just don't see that happening. The Cowboys, Dak back, it changed the nature of their offense, changed the nature of the team, but really their running game is what's taken it. And they finally turned it into a somewhat of a platoon. It's not exactly a platoon. I think it still leans a little more Elliott, maybe 60-40 Elliott. But the thing is, because they've got Elliott and Pollard, they gained 127 more rushing yards in 9 straight games. Jacksonville's allowed 100 more rushing yards in 8 of the past 10 contests, including the last 4. So Dallas should make it 10 straight games of that total. And Jacksonville's had some offensive proficiency, but they've also tallied 17 or fewer points in 4 of the past 7 games. And Dallas has generated 24 more points in 7 straight. And I think they'll get 24 in this one too, so I'm taking them.
By the way, Jacksonville needs to win this game if they want to have an outside chance of winning the division in the AFC South after their big win last week. Kansas City, they're now taking on Houston this week. Will we see Kansas City in a trap game, or do you expect the Chiefs to learn from the Jerry Jeudy fiasco last week?
I think that they'll learn from that, and they'll see that Houston played well. And hey, Lovie Smith had that team playing hard all year. They're not that talented. They need a lot of help in a lot of different places. But as far as effort level, you're going to get 4 quarters out of them. You just don't see them not playing hard for 4 quarters. It speaks really well to Lovie Smith. Houston should give him more talent next year and let him come back. If there's any concerns about, he's only has 1 win, who cares? The team plays hard. Give him talent and see what happens there. But Houston, look, they the 23 points scored last week is the first time they scored more than 17 points since week 7. They also allowed 27 points in 3 straight. I'm taking Kansas City.
One thought, every game with Casey Joyner at Casey Joyner TFS on Twitter is where you give him a follow. 405 games now. It's Brett Rippon versus Colt McCoy. Get excited for Cardinals Broncos, right?
Oh man. I had to write my write-ups for these games. I had to just figure who I thought was going to win. You just look at this like, my God, who can? Hey, I'm going to have to break this game down. I will to break this game down for my off-season breakdowns. It's like people say, hey, this is a great job, and it is a great job. When you have to watch Arizona Denver, it is work. Trust me. I think the Cardinals' defense has been terrible of late. They've scored. Arizona's opponents have scored 25 more points in 6 of the past 7, including 90 in the past 3 contests. Denver's defense is more consistent. It's at Denver, so I'll take the Broncos.
New England now has to travel to Las Vegas, so it's Belichick versus McDaniels.
It is, and I keep thinking about that. If you remember back to when McDaniels was in Denver and Belichick came up there and the Broncos won, and McDaniels goes and does the whole sprint around the stadium celebration and things. and they fell apart there. I think that's the football gods telling him, hey, by the way, don't do that. That's not what we want to see you do. But here's the thing, magic number in this game, 20. New England, when they allow fewer than 20 points, they're 7-0. They allow 20 or more, they're 0-6. So you got to get to 20 to beat these guys. If you don't, you lose. Raiders scored 20 points or more in 10 to 13 games. This could be a week that they get Jacobs, Adams, Renfro, and Waller back in the lineup. And New England is less than 100% in this game. Andre Stevenson's banged up. Damon Harris, even if he plays, he's got a thigh injury as well. So I think the Raiders will hit 20 and they'll win.
For some reason, Josh McDaniels, I think he needs to listen to Don't Mess Around with Jim when it says, don't spit in the wind, don't pull on Superman's cape. I feel like that's what he needs to do with Belichick. Don't mess with Belichick. He might come back and get you. Tennessee, we mentioned them earlier. They got traveled to Los Angeles to play the Chargers. Chargers still fighting to get in the postseason.
They are, and these, in Tennessee, 3 straight losses after a 7-3 start. I've been saying it for a few weeks now that I think they're wearing down for playing that kind of smash mouth football, and that approach can wear you down, especially with a lot of teams playing it this year. A lot of teams going back to run every approach, so I think they're kind of worn down. The thing is they're facing a Los Angeles rush defense that allowed 150 more rushing yards to 6 of the past 7. So Henry should get his back-to-back 100-plus yard rushing games for the first time since Week 9. Problem is the Titans have allowed 754 net passing yards over the past 2 weeks, gave up 71 points in those games. And Tennessee scored 20 or more points in only 2 of the last 8 games. I think Tennessee's going to need to slow the game down, but when they've got that bad of pass defense, they're not going to be able to. Chargers win.
You hear the game following Eagles-Bears this Sunday on 97.3 ESPN. It's the Bengals versus the Bucks. Joe Burrow still pushing for that MVP outside chance. Brady and the Bucks trying to lick their wounds after last Sunday.
Burrow is unrattleable. You watch him, he's losing receivers, doesn't care. He's the backup receivers. You see him taking hits, it doesn't matter. He gets he goes on Manning cast, and they have that girl who kind of insulted him and said he's unrattled by that. You just can't shake this guy. And the thing is, he might get Higgins back. They've got Mixon and Pirine to have a Thunder Lightning backfield. They might get Tyler Boyd, who says, hey, I'm definitely going to play even with this finger injury. He might not, but he says he's going to. So he's got all those things. Tampa Bay's foes have generated 189 or more rushing yards in 2 of the past 3 games. So Mixon and Pirine can get moving. And Tampa Bay has Carlton Davis allowing 7.9 yards per target the past 4 weeks. Jamel Dean, 10.8 yards per target. Those are both subpar numbers that you're going to be able to hit big passes against. And the Bucs have only tallied 41 points in the past 3 weeks. They posted 5 giveaways in the past 2 games. I think there's many more paths to victory for Cincinnati. So I'll take the Bengals.
Sunday Night Football, which you can heard here also on 97.3 ESPN FM. The Giants and Washington Part 2. They just played 2 weeks ago, Casey, and now they just switched stadiums. And is it possible that the winner of this game is in and the loser is out?
Per the New York Times playoff percentages, if Washington wins, they have a 93% chance of making the playoffs. So both these teams have kind of a low floor when it comes to the number of points they need to secure victory, a good margin for error. The Commanders are 6-3-1 when they score 17 or more. The Giants are 7-2-1 when they tally 19 plus. So it doesn't take a lot for these teams to be able to get a victory. At the edge of this game, or the key factor here, is Saquon Barkley. He hasn't been the same since New York gave him 36 scrimmage plays against the Texans in Week 10. He's only gained 152 yards on 53 carries since that contest. They wore him down. I keep coming back to this for these players. You can't wear your running backs down. You've got to keep them healthy. You can't be hitting them with nearly 40 touches in the game. I think that's going to be a big factor for the Giants. They're going to be able to move the ball quite as well. Washington has allowed 72 or fewer rushing yards in 3 of the past 4, so they shut down Barkley, and I think Washington wins this.
Casey, before I let you go, when you talk to Mike Gill this upcoming Monday, and we talk about the Eagles game, what happened? What is going to be the topic of conversation when you come on here at 5 o'clock this Monday with Mike Gill?
I think we'll be talking about, again, the Eagles' dominant offense. We're getting so used to it that if we go out and score 35 points, you don't even think anything of it. I think that we'll be looking at they gave up too much on the ground. I think that Chicago is going to be able to do some things on the ground. And we're saying the Eagles won the game. I've got a lot of confidence in that. But I have a feeling that the Eagles are going to have some trouble with that kind of with the kind of rushing offense that Chicago operates. And it's something that if they do have trouble, they're going to need to try and shore that up because other teams will mimic it.
Follow him on Twitter at Joyner TFS. Check out all of his work with The Athletic. And, of course, he joins us every Monday and Friday for one thought on every game here on the Sports Bash on 97.3 ESPN. Casey, enjoy the football weekend. Don't work too hard, okay?
You too, man. Appreciate it.
Josh Hennig filling in for Mike Gill here on the Sports Bash, 97.3 ESPN FM, 97.3 ESPN mobile app powered by First Bank. See how Casey Joyner's appearance on the Sports Bash has been brought to you by Cape Regional Health System for a healthier life. Call 609-463-CAPE. Coming up on the other side, back to your text and messages. 609-403-0973 is the text board. Tom from the Villas. We'll get to your message and others coming up in just a bit. I'm Josh Hennig hanging out with you on a happy hour Friday here on 97.3 ESPN.
Get the gift of 97.3 ESPN this year for Christmas. It's cheaper than gift cards.
Merry Christmas!
Just tell a friend to download the 97.3 ESPN mobile app. It's free in the Apple Store or Google Play.
Merry Christmas!
Matt Blatt Mitsubishi in Glassboro offering you huge discounts. Now you can get a great deal on a brand new Mitsubishi. Online at mattblatt.com.
This holiday ad will be over in 27 seconds. Unlike the new Duracell battery with Power Boost ingredients that can last 19,976 seconds in your kid's RC motorcycle, or 6,801 seconds on your beard trimmer for this year's family photo, or 15,172 seconds on your electric frother for some holiday eggnog, and many more seconds to get more out of your holiday season. Duracell, unlike this ad, engineered for more.
When you need a doctor, does the thought of going to the doctor keep you from, well, going? With AtlantiCare Virtualists, you can meet with an AtlantiCare provider whenever you need one, from your smartphone, tablet, or computer, 7 days a week. So the only place you need to go is back to bed. Visit atlanticare.org/virtual care to schedule a same-day telehealth appointment.
So I switched to Boost Mobile and got this free Samsung Galaxy A23 5G phone.
Why do you think they call it the Galaxy?
Maybe because the Samsung Galaxy A23 has a huge screen, and galaxies are huge gravitationally bound systems of stars rotating around a supermassive black hole.
And the phone is free?
When you switch to Boost Mobile.
Cool. You lost me at gravitationally bound.
Switch to Boost and get a free Samsung Galaxy A23 5G phone. Boost Mobile. Unleash your power. Limited time offer while supplies last. New customers only. Excludes tax. One device offer per line. Only available on certain networks. 5G not available everywhere. Additional restrictions apply. See your local Boost Mobile store for details.
At the Home Depot, we have plenty of Christmas trees to make your holidays even more magical. Hundreds of full, easy-to-assemble artificial trees that look so real, you may be convinced they actually are. And for those who love that fresh pine smell, we have a parking lot full of fresh-cut trees to call your own. We'll even help you load your tree in the car so you can bring home the holidays. The Home Depot, how doers get more done.
With GMF financing, to qualify buyers excludes Corvette.
It may be cold outside, but the deals are smoking at Bennett Chevrolet. It's our red-hot clear-the-lot year-end sale. While they last, everybody gets GM supplier employee pricing on new Chevys. That's right, everybody pays what our supplier employees pay and not a penny more. Even when other dealers are selling for thousands over sticker, Bennett is selling at GM supplier employee prices. But hurry, this incredible deal is on new Chevys and they will sell out fast. Save even more with rates as low as 3.99%. And every pre-owned's on sale too. This may sound unbelievable, but Bennett's paying a minimum $10,000 for the worst clunkers towards any pre-owned in stock. Yes, a minimum 10 grand for total Imagine how much you'll get for a trade that actually runs. And our non-commissioned sales team is paid not on how much you spend, but on your satisfaction. So you know you will be satisfied. Find new roads at Bennett Chevy, Egg Harbor Township, and BennettChevy.com.
I wanted to know why some people who get COVID-19 get it so bad. I found out it may be because they have a high risk factor, such as heart disease, diabetes, being overweight, smoking, and asthma. Even if symptoms feel mild, these factors can increase your risk of COVID-19 turning severe. So if you're at high risk and test positive, there are things you can do, like asking your healthcare provider if an authorized oral treatment is right for you. Learn about an option at treatcovid19.com. This message is sponsored by Pfizer.
Powered by the all-new BetParks New Jersey Casino and Sportsbook app. BetParks.com. This is the Town Square, New Jersey Info and Weather Network.
I'm Josh Hennig with your South Jersey Sports Center. Goaltender Carter Hart had 48 saves to lead the Flyers to a 2-1 victory over the New Jersey Devils on Thursday night, wrapping up their 4-game road trip. The Orange and Black return to home ice Saturday night when they face off with the New York Rangers. You can hear the Flyers tomorrow night on our sister station, Rock 104.1. The 76ers are back in action tonight, looking for their 6th straight home win when they host the Golden State Warriors, who will be playing without Stephen Curry. Listen to Tom McGinnis calling all the action starting at 7:30 p.m. on 97.3 ESPN. The Eagles only have 4 games left this season before the start of the NFL playoffs, and they will be in Chicago this Sunday to take on the Bears. Listen to Merrill Reese and Mike Quick call all the action here on your home for Eagles football in South Jersey, 97.3 ESPN. Kickoff at 1 p.m. Get more Eagles, Sixers, Phillies, and Flyers on our app. Your forecast is next.
From the Town Square, New Jersey Info and Weather Network, I'm Chief Meteorologist Dan Zarrow. Diving into the weekend with a stretch of dry and quiet, although chilly weather that'll carry through the first half of next week, too. Skies clearing tonight as the wind continues to die down. We'll see a low temperature of 34 tomorrow morning. Decent December day tomorrow, mostly sunny and dry with only a light breeze, high of 44. A bit colder on Sunday, high of 40. Under partly sunny skies, increasing clouds 42 Monday. Get weather 24/7 wherever you are. Download our free mobile app today.
We get it. You're not going to work just anywhere. You're smart, ambitious, and you want to help others. You want a place where you can thrive, feel fulfilled, and have an opportunity for growth, all while making an incredible living. Right now is the perfect time to join the team at Town Square Media as a marketing consultant. Join one of the fastest growing digital companies in America, where you get to help build client solutions with real local influencers and sell brands like TikTok, Facebook, and YouTube. If this sounds exciting to you, let's have a conversation. Our comp package is amazing with unlimited earning potential, including base salary, mobile phone, auto expense, 401k match, trip incentives, and more. If you're competitive, driven, and have the ability to communicate great ideas, we'd like to hear from you. With digital advertising expected to double over the next 3 years, the timing could not be better. Reach out to Mike Rubel, Market President, at 609-910-5249 or visit careers.townsquaremedia.com. Town Square Media is an equal opportunity employer.
Now, back to more Sports Bash with Mike Gill on 97.3 ESPN, South Jersey's sports leader.
5:30 here on a Happy Hour Friday, 97.3 ESPN FM, 97.3 ESPN mobile app powered by First Bank of Seattle. Josh Hennig filling in for Mike Gill. Get some of you guys' thoughts and comments in just a bit. But first, I want to remind you that the Sports Bash is being brought to you by BMW of Atlantic City, closer than you think. Shop their entire new inventory and take advantage of exceptional offers online anytime at BMWAtlanticCity.com. So I thought that Tom and the Villas brought up a question that we talked about a little bit earlier in the show. And I want to get to it here because it's a very interesting spin of fate, right? Because I purposely asked Casey the Jags question the way I did, because earlier in the show, for those who didn't hear, we were going through some of the scenarios, and I got the playoff simulator machine in front of me all day. And that Jags Cowboys game is very important for both teams, because if the Cowboys win that game and then they also beat the Eagles the next week as well, that changes a lot of scenarios moving forward, because the Eagles, if they still win out and they win this Sunday and they win out, the Eagles can still win the division, get the number 1 seed. But Dallas almost matter-of-factly locks themselves into a postseason spot at that point. The Cowboys need to win the next 2 games, because after that, they got to go to Tennessee on Thursday Night Football. And Tennessee, they're trying to hold off Jacksonville. Basically, Tennessee is leaning on the Cowboys beating Jacksonville this Sunday. If the Cowboys lose to Jacksonville this Sunday, 2 things happen. 1, it puts Jacksonville in a position to potentially win the division and sneak into the postseason. Number two, it takes Dallas out of the conversation to win the division, because even if the Cowboys beat the Eagles the week after that, the Cowboys still have 4 losses, and the Eagles at that point will only have had their second loss of the season. That's really where the rub is right now for Dallas. And that's where the playoff scenarios change a little bit. And that is, if the Jags win, they're now in a position where if they can win a couple more games, Tennessee loses a couple more games, they're out. Dallas is not making the playoffs, because I'm going to double check here, but I think even if Dallas loses every game the rest of the year, I think they still get their way to the postseason. I'm trying to find their last. Here it is. At Washington is the last game. Yeah, Dallas can literally lose every game the rest of the year, and they can still reach the postseason because they would have 11 wins on the year. So Dallas can go 0-4 down the stretch, and they're still in. So for Dallas, what they're playing for right now is the division. They're playing for the number 1 seed, because if Dallas beats Jacksonville, and if Dallas beats the Eagles, and if Dallas beats the Titans, and if Dallas, like I said, wins out, there's a chance for them. The problem is they need the Eagles to lose somewhere else along the way. And let's assume they don't lose this week. Let's assume they do win this week. Well, guess what? If the Eagles lose, it's either the Saints or the Giants, Cowboys can win the division. Eagles become, projectively, according to the playoff simulator machine, the 5th seed in the postseason. So there is something at play this weekend, playoff scenario rights. It's a great question by Tom Navillis, because the Jags are playing for a shot at the postseason. Dallas just got trap gamed last week. Now, Casey Joyner just said he doesn't think that Dallas will fall into the trap 2 straight weeks. So in Casey's mind and in Casey's analysis, that is not a plausible scenario. Here's what I think. I think that Dallas could definitely lose in Jacksonville for a couple of reasons. Number one, I think that we are underselling the Doug Peterson factor with this Jacksonville team. I think that he's got this team playing much better right now than they were earlier in the season. I think that even though they have lost 2 of their last, they lost, what is it? I just lost the picture in front of me. There it is. They've won 2 of their last 3 since the bye week, but they lost 2 of 3 heading into their bye week. I think the bye week maybe came a little too late for Jacksonville this year, but they found their way the last few games. Look, when they lost to Detroit, that was just an ugly game, and people got injured and things went sideways. But the Baltimore game was a massive win for them, and they beat Tennessee last week at Tennessee. So right now, Jacksonville has an opportunity to, if they can win moving forward, they have a chance to win the division. So Jacksonville absolutely has something to play for. And I think Doug Peterson has got this team clicking a little bit. The problem for Dallas is, as I said earlier in the show, here on 97.3 ESPN, Josh Hennig filling in for Mike Gill on the Sports Bash on a happy hour Friday. You can join the conversation as well at 609-403-0973 is the text for it. The problem for Dallas is that they've had multiple games this year where they should have blown the team out and they didn't. They struggled against Houston. They struggled to put away the Giants. Earlier this year, they let the Bears and their anemic offense score 29 points on that defense. And they lost in overtime to a Packers team that has much lesser talent than they do. The Cowboys' only impressive wins since their loss to the Eagles, they dominated Detroit, they dominated Minnesota, and when the Colts fell apart in the fourth quarter, took full advantage of them. But the other games, the Texans, the Giants, and the Packers, they didn't look so great. Dallas has a ridiculous amount of talent. I think Dak Prescott is still a top 10 caliber quarterback in this league. I think that the injury to their right tackle is going to hurt them down the stretch. I think that they need more production from more consistent production, I should say, from Ezekiel Elliott and Pollard down the stretch. And I think that Dallas is vulnerable because the Dallas final 4 games is a lot more daunting than Philadelphia's. Look, the Eagles, if you take out the Dallas game on Christmas Eve, the Eagles have the Bears, the Saints, and the Giants. Well, 2 of those 3 teams are headed right to the bottom of the league in terms of win-loss record. The Bears, you heard Casey Joyner say it. You heard Adam Caplan say it today. Multiple people have told us the Bears don't have the talent and the players to keep up with Philadelphia. And the Saints are a dumpster fire because they were supposed to be a team that was supposed to be competitive this year, and between a numerous amount of injuries and just an offense that has completely fallen on its face at times this year, they can't get out of their own way. And the Eagles want to beat the Saints because it's going to help the Eagles get a better draft pick because of the trade that they had before. So the Eagles definitely want to win that game. The Giants game is where the question is, because are you asking at the point, are the Eagles on cruise control or are the Eagles in win now mode because of Dallas? Cowboys' schedule is more daunting because they're at Jacksonville, at Tennessee, at Washington. All 3 of those teams are trying to play for the postseason. Jacksonville playing this week to try to get an opportunity to have a shot at the postseason. In 2 weeks, they're playing Tennessee at Tennessee on Thursday Night Football. And the final week of the season, they play the Commanders at Washington. So the Cowboys' final 4 looks a little more daunting than Philadelphia's does. And that's why I think this game this Sunday is so important for both teams. I'm going to have a close eye on Dallas and Jacksonville because I want to find out this week, do the Cowboys step up and play to the level of their talent on their roster, or does Jacksonville steal one at home and put the Cowboys on the outs? The Cowboys cannot afford to lose another game. They have to win out to have any hope or prayer at the division or the 1 seed. Because guess what? If you go by all the playoff scenarios right now, if you go by what things are looking at right now, the first round is looking more and more like Dallas versus Tampa. Dallas would be the 5 seed. Tampa would be the 4 seed. And the significance of that is if you're the Cowboys, Tampa's got a defense that can foil you. Tampa's got a defense that can make life very difficult for you. Because the problem for Dallas is that, as I said, even if they lose out, even if they lose the final 4 games of the year, they are pretty much locked into that 5th seed. Because Tampa's playing for the division. San Francisco just won their division. Minnesota's winning the North. All 3 of those teams, they're locked into the division winner slots. And you look at the teams that are behind the Cowboys in the standings right now. Washington. Well, the problem for Washington is this week they play the Giants. Next week they go to San Francisco. And I highly doubt they're going to win that game. The only way Dallas drops out of the 5th seed is if Washington wins out. And like I said, one of those games is in San Francisco, and I highly doubt Washington wins that game. That's the only way Dallas drops to 6. Well, guess what? If Dallas drops to 6, they got San Fran. That's an even worse matchup than Tampa is, because San Fran's defense is better than Tampa's defense, and San Francisco's coaching staff is better than Tampa's coaching staff. Now, I'm double checking to see this, but I don't think there's a scenario where the Cowboys can drop to 7. But I'm double checking my information with the simulator right now. Because the Lions, as long as they win this weekend, they are in the driver's seat to potentially get the 7 seed. Now, I'm going to the Lions here. See, the Lions win out, they're 10-7. I'm trying to see here. Is there any way Dallas can drop to the 7 if they lose out? Because it's not looking like they can right now. Let's see here. There's a way the Giants can get in. See if the Giants win out. Yes, even if the Giants win out and Dallas loses out, Dallas is still in that 6th seed. So what Dallas is playing for this week is to get away from Tampa and San Francisco to avoid that scenario altogether. I think San Francisco is a horrible matchup for a team like Dallas. I think Dallas can beat Tampa. I think Tampa's team is such a sloppy mess right now. I think if the Cowboys play a good game, they can beat Tampa for sure. I think Dallas, though, they can't be in a position where they fall to 6. I think the goal for them is get to the 5 and not worry about the rest. Because at least with Tampa, you're in a position, and I say a position, to have a much more tangible and digestible matchup. It might be an ugly rock fight, but they can win that game for sure. I think San Francisco is the clear number 2 team in the conference right now. I think the problem for Dallas is they've had multiple games this year where they haven't been able to put away bad teams. And I think the problem for them is that when you compare their roster to San Francisco right now, Dallas has the name recognition. The 49ers have the better talent on defense right now. And I think that 49ers defense showed you last night. They will travel, they will dominate, and they will make life miserable. And whoever they play, you better be ready for a low-scoring game. Don't forget, coming up tomorrow on 97.3 ESPN, following Billy Schweim in the locker room, we have a NFL triple header. Colts, Vikings, followed by Ravens, Browns, and then the nightcap, Dolphins at Buffalo to play the Bills. All tomorrow on 97.3 ESPN. Plus, Mike Gill will be over at Bob's Garden Center from 4 to 6 p.m. for a guys' night out at Bob's Garden Center. So, a busy weekend with 97.3 ESPN. Plus, on Sunday, I'll be with Billy Schweim in the locker room from 10 a.m. to noon live from yesterday's Creekside Tavern in Marmora for the Eagles pregame show. Then Merrill Reese and Mike Quick call all the action here in your home for Eagles football in South Jersey. 97.3 ESPN. Eagles-Bears kickoff this Sunday at 1 p.m.
Isn't there anyone who knows what Christmas is all about?
It's about sports.
Are you kidding me?
We got the Sixers, Knicks, and 3 NFL games on Christmas Day.
And there is a touchdown.
It's all on 97.3 ESPN.
This report is brought to you by EMT Solar and Roofing. EMT Solar and Roofing can help you get qualified for a free roof with solar installation. Apply now at espnsolar.com.
I know a lot of you really want the State Farm personal price plan, but what's with the oversharing? Like this message Bryan left me.
Hey, Jake from State Farm. I love the smell of my cat's breath. Yeah.
You don't need to get that personal. The State Farm personal price plan helps you create an affordable price just for you. Like a good neighbor, State Farm is there. Call or go to statefarm.com for a quote today.
Prices vary by state. Options selected by customer. Availability and eligibility may vary.
Why would someone looking for a mortgage at the Jersey Shore take a loan from a company in Detroit or North Carolina or some other far-off place? Online mortgages promise a lot, but don't always deliver. First Bank of Sea Isle City knows the Jersey Shore. We are local lenders. We use local appraisers and provide in-house processing. We understand the unique obstacles of financing in Cape May County. Don't take a chance. Local banking is better. Let us guide you. First Bank of Sea Isle City.
Member FDIC. Equal housing lender.
Did you know that driving under the influence of marijuana is illegal? Driving high will get you a DUI. And if you're wondering if law enforcement can tell you're driving high, well, everyone else can. Friends,
I can tell you drove high.
parents,
I can tell when you drive high.
relatives.
I can tell. You drove here high, didn't you?
So what makes you think law enforcement can't?
I can tell.
If you feel different, you drive different. Drive high, get a DUI. Paid for by NHTSA.
The 2023 Hercules Tires MAC Basketball Championships are returning to Atlantic City's Jim Whalen Boardwalk Hall, March 7th through 11th, featuring 22 men's and women's teams. The tournament is fun for the family, featuring a band jam, Spirit Squad showcase, and a mac and cheese fest, where you'll be able to taste a variety of mac and cheese from your favorite local restaurants. Don't miss your chance to be a part of the action to see who'll cut down the nets and earn a spot in the big dance. Get your tickets at boardwalkhall.com.
The world is always on, but you shouldn't be. Put junk sleep to bed. During Mattress Firm's Dream December sale, get a king for the price of a queen or queen for a twin and save up to $700 on Sealy. Only at Mattress Firm.
Up at the dealership, people pause. Out comes good old trade-in clause. The perfect time of year to upgrade your ride. Trade in your car while the values are high.
Bring any trade to Matt Blatt Kia and drive home in a brand new Kia, even with 0 down and 0% APR financing for 36 months. Don't see your new Kia on the lot today? That doesn't mean you can't drive it home tomorrow with peace of mind. Matt Blatt Kia's exclusive 4-day love it or leave it return policy. So if you have a job clearing $350 per week at Matt Blatt Kia, you're virtually approved. So why pay more when you can pay 0% with 0 down?
Ho, ho, ho. Boys, we're going to Matt Blatt Kia.
It's gotta be a Matt Blatt Kia. Requalifications exist with approved credit. $27.78 per thousand finance. In stock 2023 Sorrento Hybrid. Not all will qualify. Go to mattblattkianj.com for complete details or 888-506-4132. Price includes all costs to be paid by consumer, except for licensing, registration, and taxes. Expires 12/31/22. Matt Blatt Kia, 6211 Black Horse Pike, Egg Harbor Township, and now on Route 37 and Tom's River.
At the Home Depot, we have plenty of Christmas trees to make your holidays even more magical. Hundreds of full, easy-to-assemble artificial trees that look so real, you may be convinced they actually are. And for those who love that fresh pine smell, we have a parking lot full of fresh-cut trees to call your own. We'll even help you load your tree in the car so you can bring home the holidays. The Home Depot, how doers get more done.
When it comes to wings in the Delaware Valley, nobody beats the Piccalilli Inn. Whether it's South Jersey's best wings, tails, or ears, let them know you're sauce champion. All 10 delectable flavors are going head-to-head to battle for number 1. When it's game day, you just gotta head to the Pick. Visit them on Facebook or at piccalilli.com for their Pick game specials. And be sure to pre-order to guarantee your spot in Sunday's lineup. Nobody beats the Piccalilli Inn. Visit the one, the only, the original Piccalilli Inn, Route 206 in Chemong.
Now, back to more Sports Bash with Mike Gill on 97.3 ESPN, South Jersey's sports leader.
Sports Bash here on 97.3 ESPN, being brought to you by the Gallery Bar Booking Games in Ocean Casino Resort this football season and basketball and any time of year. It's a great time. I mean, you get all kinds of things going on over there at Ocean Casino Resort year round. So cheers on your favorite drinks while cheering on your favorite team. Go to the Gallery and Ocean Casino Resort to go for the win. For more information, visit theoceanac.com. Must be 21 or to play. Gambling problem, call 1-800-GAMBLER. All right, before we get out of here, just give you some thoughts and pick suggestions for the weekend. Again, as I always say on my show, Game Night, which will not be heard tonight. We have the best of the Sports Bash coming up the next hour. These are recommendations and suggestions. These are not guarantees or locks of the century. Again, gambling problem, call 1-800-GAMBLER. Gave you the Seattle under team total last night, so I'll try to give you a couple more going on today. I tend to lean to what everybody else is saying today, Casey Joyner and Andy McNamara. I think the Vikings smash the Colts tomorrow afternoon. That 3.5 is just way too generous of a number, so I'm riding with that. I also like talking about team totals. I think the Dolphins are going to struggle a lot up in Buffalo this weekend. The team total right now that I'm seeing is 17.5. I tend to think that number is going to be under. And the first half total over-under for the game is 20.5. I kind of like that one, too. I don't think it's going to be a high-scoring game in general. The only reason I don't see the total for the entire game is 44.5. I could totally see a scenario where maybe if teams get some running yards on the ground, Buffalo, running over Miami. But I think it's going to be a low-scoring game in general, and I think Buffalo wins that game. Also this weekend, I don't think people realize that, as I mentioned earlier, Zach Wilson is starting for the Jets. That was announced earlier today. The Lions are only a 1.5 point favorite on the road. I love that number for Detroit. I think Detroit wins that game outright up at the MetLife Stadium this Sunday. I also like the Panthers win at home. Nobody knows who's starting quarterback for the Steelers. That's a bad formula for anyone. And finally, I'll give you my pick for the Eagles and the Bears. Give me the Eagles on the 9.5. I think the Eagles win the game by double digits this Sunday. I think that eventually they'll realize that they can put their foot on the gas pedal. They can blow the Bears out of the stadium. They can rest the guys in the fourth quarter. The problem for the Bears-Eagles game is the Bears have not had a ton of games where teams have blown them out, and the teams that they have been blown out by, they've also scored 2 in some of those games. But I don't think this will be like that. I think the Eagles put it in cruise control by the end of the game, and I got the Eagles winning 40-14. That's my thought as of December 16th. Because I just don't see a scenario where they win. I just don't. Don't see it at all. But if I was to throw one more thought out there on the weekend numbers, because the game following the Eagles game this Sunday on 97.3 ESPN, we'll have Bengals versus Bucks. I think this is going to be a defensive battle. I think the under 44.5 is the number as well. So, and of course, Sunday Night Football, Giants and Washington, part of the lineup this Sunday on 97.3 ESPN. So you got Eagles at noon, following Billy Schwein in the locker room on Sunday, followed by Bengals versus Bucks, and then Sunday Night Football, Giants and Washington. Thanks again to Casey Joyner, Bryan Toporek, Adam Caplan, Andy McNamara, and Mike McGarry for all joining me here at Happy Hour Friday. Thanks to all of you for listening and texting the show. I will be back on Sunday with Billy Schwein in the locker room right here on 97.3 ESPN. Have a great night, everybody. Go Sixers.
Hey, it's Mike Gill from the Sports Bash. Join me this Saturday from 4 to 6 for a guys' night out at Bob's Garden Center on the Black Horse Pike in Egg Harbor Township. Taste delicious food from Ernest & Sons Meat Market and get your hands on a pair of Birds and Saints tickets. Bob's Garden Center is your one-stop shopping this holiday season. Bob's Garden Center, gifts galore for easy grab and go. Don't end up on the naughty list. Plus, a pair of Eagles Saints tickets. Stop out and see me this Saturday from 4 to 6.